All right, my friends, this is a video from JustPearlyThings called Feminism is a Female Supremacy Movement. Street Talks. Now, I say this every single time we watch any Street Talk video, whether I like the video or not. It's very easy for you to go out into the public for hours on end, ask a specific question, look for a specific answer, and then take the answer that you get, even if it's only 1% of the answers you do get, and then edit it together to make it seem like that's the way that most people feel about a thing. It's very easy to do that. It's also very disingenuous. A lot of people do that. Okay, whether it's just Pearly Things that are trying to talk about feminism, or whether it's like Jimmy Kimmel going around interviewing Trump supporters and then only putting the ones that come off as stupid out there. It's all the same thing. You should definitely be aware of it because it's a very disingenuous thing that a lot of people do. Okay? That being said, feminism is not a female supremacy movement. What I will say is that there is a subsection of feminism that is just an advocacy for breaking down men rather than building up women. And I totally say this all the time as well. At the end of the day, if your advocacy centralizes around breaking down a group of people that you see as the other group rather than building up your own group, then it is not a real advocacy group. It is a group that bullies people and weaponizes the struggles of the group that they pretend to advocate for. That is what the manosphere is for men. It centralizes from the majority of what I've seen, your Fresh and Fits, your Andrew Tates, your Just Pearly Things. It focuses more on breaking down women rather than building up men. There might be some aspects of self-improvement, but the central focus is dunking on women constantly. It's about finding girls that meet the criteria of the bad girl, the girl with the high body count that's not particularly intelligent and young, talking to them and trying to make them look stupid and trying to make it seem like that's all women. That's it, man. So let's get this started.
But we are better than men.
I agree that gender does not exist.
Oh, so far we're 0 for 2. Two wrong people.
Do you really believe that feminism is male? Which way? First, second, or third?
I don't follow everything Andrew Tate says, but I believe
I live with men. I think we're better than men.
he has
Nice.
had an influence on today's society.
Are you pro woman or pro man?
My thing is what's interesting is that when these women say that women are better than men, which they're not, the funny part is that people in the manosphere think that men are better than women. So it's like, how are you not sexist for hearing this? You'll say it's a fact because I guess men are stronger, but men and women they bring different things to the table that are important. You know, men tend to generally and provide, you could say, security financially, protecting, but women provide children. You could look at one of these things as better than the other, but I think that these are two different roles that are very important, and we don't need to waste time trying to figure out which one is better. We could just focus on the respect for both of those roles. Very simple.
Don't define a man and a woman.
So could I be a man?
Yeah, people talk about men's issues all the time.
Shame, insult, guilt need to be read.
How do you define born as a man?
Statements are so made for the camera.
PP balls. I don't know.
To bring the money for the female to go shopping during.
And don't bring this energy. Welcome to World Star. What up, guys? Welcome to the Just Pearly Things YouTube channel. Today I'm in Piccadilly Square. I'm going to be interviewing people
Piccadilly Square.
on my sign, which is Feminism
Now,
is
let's
a
hear from the
Supremacy
girls.
Movement. Let's see what the people of London think. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell. Let's get started.
Ready.
Okay, so feminism is a female supremacy movement. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Why?
Because I'm a female.
She's based. She's just like, I mean, I disagree with her, but she's just like, yep, it's true. I'm a female. I'm better than you. It's like, all right, well, at least she's honest.
I'm a female, so of course I agree.
Okay. So you think it's at the expense of men? Like women want to be better than men?
No, definitely not. Not
Okay.
better than men, but we are better than men.
Why do you think we're better than men?
I just think we are.
Feminism fundamentally is just about the advocacy for equality between men and women. It really is just that. It's not like this super deep thing. That's what it is. There are some women who will weaponize it for sure, but it's not like this super like abusive, crazy thing. You know?
Why?
I just think we are.
Do you think that's a bit sexist?
No, not at all.
Why?
I live with men. I think we're better than men. I do.
I know, I'm just saying, like, how is that not sexist? Like, if men thought they were better than women, wouldn't that be sexist?
No.
Yes, Pearl, and you fucking constantly talk about how men are better than women. So what are you talking about? When you sit down and say it's okay for a man to cheat because a woman loses her value after she turns like fucking 25, and men only want to fuck 20-year-old girls that are like fucking just barely legal, and how does that not promote inequality? What are you talking about? You what are you talking about, girl? You can't hold the... I hate it when people do these things. I hate it when people... This is the thing I hate. If somebody hates men or women or whatever, I mean, it's not ideal, but I don't care. When they start lying about it is when it bothers me. Yeah, I think that fat whales, they don't deserve love. Oh, yeah, I think that men should be able to cheat on women. Yeah, I think that, and it's because once you start aging beyond 20, you lose all your value. Thinking that women only have value through their body is insane, right? And then being like, but isn't it silly when somebody thinks that that men are better than women or women are better than men? You do, Pearl. What are you talking about, girl?
Well, technically, nobody deserves love.
Yeah, for sure. Why single out fat women? Oh, because you think fat women are worse than fat men because women, to you, are only valued for their body. It's weird.
I'm not at all.
Meanwhile, and the most fucking incredible part of it is that Pearl is actually very intelligent. And it's so ironic because the people in the manosphere that like watch her content, they're like, I love this girl. She's speaking facts. She's so smart. Oh wow, you're valuing a woman for more than just her. What the hell's going on here? Am I on this? What the fuck? Oh, you're valuing... Okay. You're valuing a woman based on more than just her body? Holy fuck, based. Now try that for every other woman.
No, I wouldn't think that.
Okay, I'm just asking.
It's a personal opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But I think we're better than men.
Why do you think women complain about double standards? Like, for example, the pay gap, right? But they don't complain about getting into bars for free.
So it's crazy because these girls are like...
So the reason why people would complain about this is because there's a fundamental difference between these two things. One is like a social thing, getting into a bar for free, that the majority of women don't even really have access to because that's... Like most people don't. I mean, like not for nothing, but there are some clubs that this happens. And I've gone to bars before. Women don't really get in for free necessarily. It depends on how upscale it is, right? But more than that, getting paid is something that everybody does. It's it's a systemic thing. So of course you'd have a bigger issue with fundamentally just not getting paid if you're not getting paid than you would with getting into a bar, which is a recreational activity that not everybody utilizes, and not every bar is like that, right? Now that being said, we understand that the pay gap isn't quite as crazy as it used to be, right? When you count for factors like hours worked and the jobs performed, et cetera, the gap goes from like 82%, I think it is now, to like 98 or 99%. And those disparities, I would say, mostly come in like higher end jobs, right? Where like managerial jobs where women have to advocate for themselves, but socially we teach women not to because if you're a strong woman you're a bitch, but if you're a strong man you're a cool guy, right? But that's where that comes from. These two things aren't nearly equal to each other. One is like an institutional aspect, one is like a recreational aspect. That's pretty much it. But okay.
Like seem pleasant, they'll seem nice and everything, but they'll say the wildest shit. Like she's like, yeah, we're better than men. What if men walked around and said we're better than women?
You do that every day, Pearl. You are part of the sphere that does that every day. Stop trying to pretend that you're finding some kind of like fucking hypocrisy when you do the same shit. Personally, I don't care that this woman thinks she's better than men because she's making it very clear that it's like a personal feeling, right? Like the same thing with guys. If you're like, yeah, personally I just think men are better than women, okay. Now, do you go on and advocate for why there should be inequality between the two? Oh, no. This woman is like, I think we should be equal, but I'm better than men. Okay. Is it ideal? No. But what does Pearl think? What is like Fresh and Fit think? They think that men are better than women and they should have access to more things because of it. Like, there's a difference between having like a personal prejudice versus taking that prejudice and trying to spread it into some kind of like a societal perspective. Either way, I don't think it's ideal, but like, a lot of men hate women. A lot of women hate men because a lot of men have had bad experiences with women and a lot of women have had bad experiences with men. And you often form prejudices because of that. That's okay to form the prejudice as long as you don't allow that prejudice to spread to a more like systemic level, right? And when you're advocating for men to be able to cheat and women to not, and women are only valuable for their body and blah, 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 you've brought it to a systemic aspect. So what are you talking about?
I mean, men can't even say they're better than women at sports. And that's
yes,
just empirically true. That's just true.
They
but
can.
Like nice,
I say it all the time.
I
say it all the time. You can say men are better than women at sports. Because they are. What are you talking about? Nobody chastises anybody. Every time like a WNBA player complains about how like she doesn't make as much money as the men, the entire world collectively and justifiably gets together and shits on that girl because they don't bring in the same amount of revenue as the male players. What do you mean nobody can? You absolutely can. There is no societal stigma that's like you can't say men are better than women at sports. You're just saying something that's uncharacteristically false. Now, if you're saying it in a way that is meant to be disrespectful, you'll start to get backlash. But that's the problem. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Ladies can just walk around saying we're better than men are trash, da 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 da.
Okay,
And
I can too.
no
Who
one
cares?
Or free drinks at the bar. But I'd imagine if the roles were reversed and men were getting free drinks and in the bar for free, there would be a problem.
I'm not gonna lie, I've never got.
And then I could counter that by saying, hey, I can imagine if men shot babies out of their fucking cockholes, that abortion wouldn't be illegal. And yet here we are, and I'm not fucking virtue signaling about this issue. Right? We could find plenty of inequalities. But like there's one. Oh, you know women get divorced for free? Hey, did you know that women can't have abortions? Because why? I guarantee, listen, not for nothing, but if dudes could fucking shoot babies out of the tip of their penis, abortion would be legal. I genuinely feel that way. Because it should be. So what are you talking about? Talk about these fucking inequalities. What?
Going to a bar for free, so never.
You're a pretty girl, I'm surprised. Usually they'll let them in the front.
No, and I've never got a drink for free.
You've never had a man buy you a drink?
Never.
Cap.
I swear.
Never in your life.
Never
You've
in
never
my life.
you've never had a boyfriend?
Oh yeah, I've had a boyfriend.
Never
Yeah.
taken you on a date and paid?
Oh yeah, but I've paid.
Oh, so you date bums?
Yeah,
okay.
basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, I've never had that.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a social standard that men pay for drinks for sure. If you don't like that, you could always change it. And you could say like, hey, it's kind of unfair. The problem is that you can't really advocate. You can't complain about the issue of men having to pay for drinks when like feminism fundamentally is about bridging the gap and making things equal. So you'd be like, oh yeah, well, I mean, I don't think that a man should have to pay for a drink on a date because women are equal now. Okay, so make that point. Now you're gonna have probably a rough time finding people, but I mean, just make that point. Go for it. You know what I'm saying? The thing is that like the dating process is when it comes to being married together, most people's experience where both people make money is that both men and women will share part of the burden with each other. So it would be really shitty if you lived in a household where both of you made the exact same amount, but the guy was expected to pay for everything and the girl wasn't expected to pay for anything. That would be fucking nuts.
Let's take abortion, right? That was a big thing in the U.S., right? Well, we don't talk about financial. Like a man is going to be forced to be a father, but a woman's not forced to be a mother.
Yeah.
So
what?
Why don't we ever talk about that?
Because men don't like talking about stuff like.
What the fuck are you? Do you have a? What is that even? What?
In the U.S., right? Well, we don't talk about. Okay, what about let's take abortion, right? That was a big thing in the U.S., right? Well, we don't talk about financial. Like a man is going to be forced to be a father, but a woman's not forced to be a mother.
Yeah.
So why?
Okay, I think I understand now. We're talking about abortion. Okay, I had to listen to that. So what she's saying is that a woman can opt out of having a baby, right? And a man can't because women have the ultimate right to choose. Now, first of all, you absolutely can simply walk away from a relationship as a man and not raise your kids. There are much more fathers not in their households than mothers. Okay, there are more single mothers than single fathers by like a rate of like 5 times the amount. Okay, that's one thing. Number 2, we should understand this. Okay, men have a significant biological benefit to their existence. We are bigger and we are stronger than women. That is a significant biological advantage. And it's the reason why men get paid better in sports and men have the ability to perform more manual labor jobs. Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck. Right? And we accept that because it is a biological advantage of men to do this thing. Women have the biological advantage of pushing babies out of their pussy, which means that they get the end-all perspective on whether to have the abortion or not. Do I think men should be able to have a conversation about it? Absolutely. Absolutely. But ultimately, I find it interesting that when a man has an advantage, like in sports, we will defend it and say like, oh, yeah, well, we're just stronger, which is true. But when a woman has an advantage, all of a sudden, there's a profound inequality in society. It's a biological advantage that women get. Okay. All right? Having a baby doesn't put any stress on a man physically. A woman has to carry a fucking human being in their body for 9 months, and then it devastates their bodies coming out. So yeah, I think it's okay if they get the end-all perspective on whether they should have the baby or not. It's not that deep, okay? And if you want men to not have to take financial responsibility of their kid, then you'd want women to get aborted. No, that doesn't help men for abortion to not exist. Okay, just because an inequality exists doesn't mean that the inequality is abusive, right? Again, gender pay gap. There's an inequality. Why, though? Men work jobs that are paid better and for longer hours and take less time off. There's an inequality there, but does that make it abusive? Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, so then why is the abortion one abusive? All of a sudden, when a man, like, how is this one abusive? It's silly. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Why don't we ever talk about that?
Because men don't like talking about stuff like that, do they?
No, I think they do. It's just they're made fun of. Yeah, when they talk about men's rights, they're made fun of.
Do you think?
Yeah, all the time.
Abortion isn't a men's right, and I've just communicated how, but okay.
Men,
Are you pro-woman or pro-man?
I'm pro equality, like the real
No, she's not. She's not pro equality. She's pro man. She's like an embarrassment.
form of it.
Of course, of
So
course.
I think if like men get to choose, if women get to choose not to be mothers, men should get to choose not to be fathers.
Yeah.
You can just walk out of the household. That's why we have more single mothers and single fathers. Pearl, you know this, and if you don't, then you probably shouldn't be talking about these issues.
100%.
Yeah, but that's not the way the laws are set now, and we never talk about it. But when Roe versus Wade
So if
happened,
you got pregnant, would you ask the boy what he wanted to do?
well, I think he should be able to sign off his rights and not pay child support.
You think he shouldn't pay child
I don't think that she should not be able to pay child support. I think he should have to. I can understand that. We're talking fundamentally. We're talking about like how like men being productive in society, or excuse me, young like kids having access to financial well-being, right? So if you're gonna put your dick in somebody and you're gonna have a baby, like you can pay child support. You don't have to be a father for them. The reality is that that's much more impactful. Is not having a fucking dad than not having money. I would say. But ultimately, if you think that we should advocate for a system that allows men to not have to pay child support and they don't get any rights to their kids, like, okay. So, but then you have to also understand that we need to have better outcomes for these kids, which means that you need to be for implementing some kind of a, like, basically governmental child support. And if that's your take, that's perfectly fine. But, like, you cannot just rob these kids of resources because then they're just going to end up poor. They're not going to have the same access to different things in their life. So you need to be consistent and you need to advocate for that. That's fine. If that's my wife's take. My wife thinks that men should be able to sign away their rights if they don't want to have a kid, but that we should implement robust structures so that these kids still get financial access to the things that they need. But you can't advocate for one without the other. Because that's the next step, or else you're going to have like a generation of fucking kids that are just going to be failures.
support?
No, he shouldn't if he doesn't want to.
Yeah, if he doesn't want it, yeah.
They can go to jail in the UK and in the US if they don't pay child support. They're
Yep.
stuck. So it incentivizes women to get kids off of rich guys. So what I'm saying is,
It incentivizes women to get kids off of rich guys. Okay. Wear a condom? I mean, I'm just like, so you're talking about rich people who have like money to pay for these kids. You're saying that they're getting tricked into having babies. That might be happening sometimes. That's not happening constantly. Sure. So then, like, I don't know, have the guy make sure that he get the snip. You have money for it or something. I don't know. This just isn't a profound problem that's happening that is relatable to anybody that actually matters. I don't really care about rich people, but okay.
is like feminism says they're for equality, but if they were, they would talk about men's issues too.
Yeah, people talk about men's
What?
issues all the time.
Okay.
I know a lot of people
Okay.
that have kids with men,
Yeah, sure.
and the men don't pay for anything.
I think that the biggest man issue right now is the fact, I think that the biggest men's issue, more than anything else, is the fact, I'm talking about this all the time, that there are fewer and fewer jobs available nowadays, right? Wages are being driven down, fewer jobs available, technology is displacing a lot of them, and because rich people are sucking up a lot of the just sucking shit up, and we're not talking about that. This is the problem. Most men's issues are not even issues with women. It's issues with rich people. And I would say the reverse is the same as well. And yet we always pivot to the group that seems like they're the problem instead of actually talking about real change. Because it's easy to just shit on women, but it's not easy to like talk about some kind of systemic change that like advocates for a working class. Not to sound too fucking communist here, but I mean, God forbid we started having conversations about like better universal income. Better universal healthcare in some capacity and things of that nature that would actually help people. You know, rather than like kind of virtue signaling about like, oh, women bad because the baby, you know.
And they've not been arrested.
I'm saying, but they legally can. I don't know who you know, but I'm saying legally they can go to court if they wanted to
Yeah,
and
legally
get.
they
Sure.
can go to court, but it doesn't mean anything.
But I'm asking,
They
how
can
is
get
that
arrested.
fair?
But what about if the girl loses?
If the girl loses, they don't.
They do.
No, they don't. Not statistically speaking. Women pay child support like 15% of the time. It's a very small percentage.
It's not.
Sure, that's because women tend to disproportionately get their custody of their kids. But a guy who's not paying child support isn't a guy that actually wants to take care of his kids. So, I mean, like, I understand the disparity, but like, women are the ones are disproportionately single mothers. So why would they be getting child support? Why would they be paying child support if they're taking care of the kid at home?
A very small percentage. I know a lot of boys that have babies and don't pay anything.
They don't pay anything?
Anything.
Okay, I don't know who you know, but I'm going off of stats.
I'm going off stats as well.
Okay, what stats do you have?
A lot of men friends.
Okay, I'm talking about like actual data.
Actual.
Yeah, but the data that you said is that women don't have to pay child support as much, and you're trying to make it seem like women aren't paying child support or when they are supposed to, when they are not the primary parent, I guess you'd say, when they don't have custody. But that's not happening. It's just that the person, whoever gets custody, should be given child support, whether they're a man or a woman. And you're trying to make it seem like because there's less women paying child support, that somehow that means that like it's because they aren't paying it because they're women. But it's because they're the ones taking care of the fucking kid. What are you talking about?
Data. Well, I don't know where you've come from. Yeah, but
You can look it up. It's not. You can just Google it.
I don't agree. Men and women have equal rights at the end of the day.
Sure, that's true. Men
Yeah.
and women do have equal rights at the end of the day. Again, like this is the same thing. Now, if you showed me a disparity, and it might exist, where it was like, hey, did you know that fathers who had custody of their kids, proportionate to them having custody, are less likely to get child support? That's a conversation to have. That's a conversation to have. Then it's like, okay, if that's true, that's an issue. Like, let's say that 80%, I think this is around the number, it's either 80 or 85% of the single parents are mothers, right? And 20% are fathers. But let's say that, like, for whatever reason, proportionate to that, men still are not getting as much, right? Like, proportionate to that. Sorry, somebody's really pissed me off on the game. Men are not getting child support from the mother as much. That's an issue to talk about, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's all men. You can't treat people the same.
So today we're talking about the topic: feminism is a female supremacy movement. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, hold on a second.
Shane McAllister super chatted $5. Hey Papa, on the topic of bad men, I have had similar experiences with an absent father.
Okay.
It has made me have a bias against men in my life. Advice?
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where it only takes one or two bad interactions and experiences with a bad person from any group for you to develop some kind of an issue, or like some kind of a prejudice that's not justifiable, right? And you have to just try not to have that issue. You have to do your best to try not to overly focus on the mistakes of one of men in your case. When they do make mistakes, because some people will do that. They'll be like, "Oh, I have a prejudice," and they'll focus on when that, like you said, you have a prejudice against men, basically. So we'll do men versus women. So let's say you have a prejudice against men. You'll see a man make a mistake. You'll be like, "See, men," and you'll see a woman make a mistake, and you won't be as open to it. You won't really focus on it too much, right? That is something that you want to make sure that you keep in your mind, and you try not to engage in that. Try not to overly engage in like one group of people making a mistake. People are really stupid.
No, I agree with you.
Why?
I think women they're very entitled today in terms of preferences. So a woman can talk about preferences, like she wants a guy that's 6'2" and he has to be that height. But if you ask a woman her weight, which she has control over, honestly, like genetically speaking, from a
I agree with you. I agree with you.
So here's the thing, right? Everybody's entitled to whatever preference they want to have, right? And it is a societal virtue signal to overly protect, especially women, from when they get criticized for their weight. It happens, of course. The question is why does that happen? And it's because of especially manosphere groups like this that will criticize a woman, and they will only value a woman, and we do this historically, based on their weight. And so we've developed basically a societal cope, which is body positivity, because women shouldn't be just bullied relentlessly just for being fat, because women have more value than that. Is it good to be fat? No, of course not. Right? Is it good to berate people for being fat? No. People they might be stress eating or eating. There's a ton of different systemic reasons why people overeat, right? There's a difficulty in access of actually healthy foods. Our FDA doesn't really give too much of a fuck about providing healthy foods. They'll allow basically fucking preservatives and sugars and these basically addictive types of foods. And well, in our foods. I keep saying that. There are places called food deserts where it's difficult to get access to a grocery store to be able to actually make a home-cooked meal. You have financial issues that cause parents to have to work 60 hours a week so that they don't have as much time to cook. We could do better. We have the internet age that makes it so that people are like very sedentary in their lifestyles. We should teach home ec in schools. We should advocate for people to just walk a little bit. We should have more of a health focus than a fat focus. And I know that sounds silly, but when people say you need to lose weight, you need to lose weight, that's how people develop eating disorders. And then instead of focusing on getting healthier, which will cause you to lose weight, right? You're better off. You need to make a long-term and a slow change of like eating better foods, right? So like having that broccoli with every meal, having a fibrous vegetable with every meal, going for that walk, cutting down on the sugars, doing this in a way that advocates for long-term change rather than just focusing on fatness. And part of the body positivity is about like loving yourself to the degree where you will stop killing yourself, because overeating, especially bad foods, is suicide. It happens when people don't care about themselves to the degree that they should, and they start eating like shit. And I've been there. They don't care anymore. And when you get bullied for it, it doesn't make you want to lose weight. It just makes you go, who cares? This is how I am. I don't care anymore. That's what it's about, brother. Is it a double standard? For sure. But that double standard of women being able to go, I don't want short guys, which is totally fine. And then when you're like, well, I don't want a fat girl, and then them crying in an online perspective, because it's only happening online, that's because women have been relentlessly bullied just for being fat and existing, right? So, like, it's just the reality, man. And it's not fair. And these people are AFK. It's a fucking Mythic Plus. It's not fair. And it's something that we should definitely change, right? You shouldn't be shaming men for being short. You don't get to control that. Of course not. It's ridiculous. But, like, just because it doesn't mean that we should be able to dunk on fat women. That's where it comes from, man. And like, yeah, short men get shit, but the movement of relentlessly harassing fat women online is nowhere near harassing skinny people, right? I stand with my short kings, by the way.
But I don't think it's females. I think it's equality. I think feminism is equality.
Okay,
sure.
I'm going to finish the interview with him, and I'd love to talk with you guys if you're free. Sorry, go ahead.
So men have genetics, and obviously these genetics determine height.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
but women, you can exercise. Exercise is free. You have your body,
the
you have
treadmill.
your legs.
How about
Sure.
the treadmill?
You don't even need a treadmill. Run around the park.
What are the whales doing?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, see, like, oh, what are the whales doing? Haha. It's just like an engagement and disrespect as much as possible. You know what I mean? I know you'll be like, oh, it's just a joke. Yeah, it can be, but I know that the intention of Pearl's joke is to be disrespectful. When people are just having like fun and making jokes like I do all the time, like I'm not meant to be disrespectful about it. We were just doing a segment before, like literally before this, where there was a fucking dude and he was like shorter, and he got rejected for it, which was shitty. But I was like I noticed that this guy was like closing himself off. He was like leaning in, like closing his chest a little bit, like sitting forward in a way that like was a little bit like he's trying to hide his body a little bit. He was sitting on the edge of the seat. And like my thing is like, to the young men who may be shorter, that's okay. But women love confidence. I remember I had a teacher in my school at one time. It was like my game and web design school. He was a really short guy. He was a short, like chunky guy. This guy was the coolest fucking teacher in the entire world, and everybody loved him because he was confident as fuck, and he was also based as fuck. This guy knew how to cook, clean. He made a ton of money. He was a master in his field. Like, this was a respectable dude, and he didn't let his height, like, become a problem. Try to be that person. Be confident. If you're short, just let your chest out. Sit into your seat normally. Okay, you're short. Who cares? Confidence is a big thing, too. Right? Everybody's entitled to their preferences, but unfortunately, you got to deal with your shit. You obviously can lose weight, but it can be difficult. Ultimately, you being overweight is your problem. Like, you're the only person who can really control that. But it is a lot simpler than just losing weight. We understand that there's a lot of aspects to it. So, just like engage with it like that.
they make these super judgments, but when you judge them, you're evil, oh, you're cruel, body shaming.
It's like anytime men have a standard, they're shamed for it. If they say I don't want to slut, they're shamed, right?
100%.
Nobody's actually shamed for not wanting fat women. Like, that's the reality. There are a small pocket of annoying people online that'll shame you, but most men aren't shamed because they don't want a fat woman, right? It's not happening nearly to the same degree. And what happens is a lot of times people they'll be super disrespectful to be like, I don't want no fat fucking bitch, so fat pig, and they'll be like, yo, that's disrespectful, and you're like, oh dude, because I have a preference. Man, the way that you express yourself is going to have a tremendous impact on the way that people, engage with you. If you're respectful about your preferences, you're not going to get any shit for your preferences. Be respectful. Be respectful. If you don't want to date a fat person, that's okay. But you don't even have to tell that person. And if you don't want to date a short guy, you don't have to tell, oh, it's because you're short. Just be like, oh, no, thank you. You just don't, it really does boil down to like a lot of respect. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you, bro.
Yeah,
100%. Like they want to be superior in that sense, to be able to have their own preference. But when they're judged for their weight, they want to cry about it. When they want to sleep around and someone calls them out for it, they don't like it. I don't follow everything. And
the only time, from when it comes to the sleeping around part, the only time I've ever seen nobody. Okay, let's be real here. Again, this is something Pearl advocates for. She actively advocates that it's okay that men sleep around. Nobody is judging. There's been okay. When it comes to women's hoeing around, no one is individually shaming a woman for having too much sex and being like, oh, see, that's gross. What's happening is we're saying it's totally fine for a guy to fuck as many girls as they want. But if a girl does it, I went to the wrong place, fuck. But if a girl does it, it's somehow worse. And they'll say, well, because biologically, men are looking for mates and women are... Bro, here's the reality of the situation, okay? When it comes to happiness levels in marriages... Men and women both with higher body counts have lower reported happiness in their marriage. When it comes to STDs, both men and women can get STDs. It's very clear that it stunts your ability to get into a long-term relationship when you have a lot of sexual partners for men and women. That's what I care about. That's equality. They're focusing on like, oh, well, guy have penis and wants spread seed, so must be okay. That's not how it works. When you look at outcomes, the outcome should be to be in a stable, successful marriage with the person and be loyal and dedicated to raise your children. It shouldn't be to bank as many bodies. And I'm not saying don't go around and fuck around. Go through your shit. If you want to go and you want to experience life, be my guest. But if you're a man or a woman, it comes with fucking consequences. You might get STDs. It's going to make you less valuable. And it's going to stunt your ability to be able to get into a long-term relationship. I don't know what else to tell you. I fucked around with a lot of women. And it is an additional struggle that I'm managing very well in my marriage. But it's still like there, bro. And like it makes it difficult. These things exist. But the double standard... It's not that we're saying women shouldn't have high body counts. It is the massive, unjustifiable double standard of relentlessly shitting on women for having a high body count, but thinking it's really cool when men do it. But it's disgusting either way. It hurts relationships, and it gives you fucking STDs. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you.
Andrew Tate says, but I believe he has had an influence on today's society, and I agree that some of his points do make sense. I agree that if a woman has a really high body count, less men would want her. And
of course, and I agree with that. And if a guy has a high body count, less women will want him. You don't praise the body count when it comes to men and shit on women for it.
Yeah, and I think it's the same for men as well.
No, it's not.
You don't think so?
Yeah, see, based as fuck. This guy's based as fuck. This guy is based as fuck. He's like, I think it's the same for men. I respect this guy. Well, look, now Pearl's going to go into fucking goblin.
Men would want her.
Ready for it.
Yeah, and I think it's the same for men as well.
Based.
You don't think
yes,
so?
it is.
Are women worried about Drake's body count?
You got a point. Yeah, but
Who's shiesty? Are they?
Who cares? These are rich men. If a rich woman was going around looking for like a fucking guy, the guys wouldn't care either because they're getting taken care of financially. It's the same. Rich people aren't the fucking average status quo. What are you talking about?
Are they worried?
They're materialistically developed. Yeah. If it's a random guy with a body count of 60, he's they're less inclined to want him.
Not really.
Yeah, they are.
No, it's not.
What if he was really poor and he had a high body count?
Look, there are poor guys that they get girls left and right.
I don't know, man. Like, I know.
I was that poor guy going on Tinder. I was making like $45K a year on Tinder. I'm fucking around. I was in a fucking poly relationship. I don't give a fuck, dude. Yeah, it's not a good thing though. It shouldn't be praised.
A lot of girls really they want high materialistic valued men.
It's just the data doesn't support that because if you look at dating app data, it's like 5% of the men get all the swipes. The reason that women think men are trash because they're all fucking.
But dude, dating apps isn't the oh my god, dating apps are for sex. Dating apps are for sex, mostly for men and women, and then a lot of women are on there just to make themselves feel good about each other. Like 92% of relationship finding people in for long-term relationships are not through Tinder or OkCupid or any of that bullshit. It's through usually like work, a hobby, you go your family, not fucking your cousin, but like through people, family, friends, etc., etc. That inequality doesn't mean that there's this drastic issue. right? Why are you quoting fucking Tinder, a casual sex dating app? Of course, men prefer casual sex to women. So of course there's going to be fewer men being able to engage with that, with fewer women on there for it. You know, like I said, there's women on there that are just on there so that they can, you know, make themselves feel a little bit better ego-wise, right? That happens. Okay. What are you talking about?
Talking the same one.
Statistically speaking, so I can't argue that.
Yeah.
What statistic?
Yeah, come on.
Which way? First, second, or third?
So
This is what's going to happen by the end of the year. This is going to be my pop year. Okay, 2023 is going to be my pop year, and I'm going to go to England and I'm going to talk to Just Pearly Things. That's what's going to have to happen, so that I can enough is enough, dude. Enough is enough. Okay, I got to see my longtime friend Just Pearly Things. Okay.
this girl got so angry, and it's just
Why are you doing commentary over it? Just show it. What the fuck?
People I just don't even see the point of arguing with, or because I don't even want to argue. I'm just trying to have a conversation, and they come at me, or a debate, you know, and they come at me so heated, and I'm just like, lady, take your anger elsewhere. I don't need it.
What? She didn't seem that angry, but like you realize that you're putting up, like you're out there to anger bait, and now you're getting upset when you get angry people. You're out there saying that feminism, like, fundamentally is about destroying men instead of building women, and then you're like, wow, people are angry at that. Like, I can't believe it. Okay.
Here, this is the town of pleasant people. Maybe not London. No offense to you guys, but like this is the fan base, the subscriber base of pleasant, happy people. So yeah,
I hate this fucking
I
boss.
hope you
I'm so
work
bad
on
at
that.
it.
I don't know.
I think it's all the same.
You think first wave when they're asking for a vote?
Yeah.
Can't hear her.
You think they're asking you a supremacy?
Yeah, if you let me explain, I'll tell you why.
That was like something you explained.
No. I'm saying I do this for my job, so
I can understand that.
So I'm saying it's important to get you in the shot. So if you want to come in the shot. Right.
Okay, that's
so
fair.
The reason I think it's a supremacy movement is because we're asking for freedom without the responsibility.
What does that mean?
Even with the right to vote, it was the freedom to vote without the responsibility of getting drafted.
That's fair. That's a fair criticism. Okay, for sure. There's an inequality. This isn't a drastic inequality because we haven't drafted people in like 60 years. But I understand. It's like, why did women get the right to vote, but they didn't get the right to be in the draft? Now, I don't know if this is a fact, but it's probably because women probably aren't valued in the military as much. Personally, I do think that when it comes to combat roles, maybe women shouldn't necessarily be in them all the time. I don't really know. I'm not a military person. That's just my opinion. I do understand how, why people could be apprehensive about that, right? And so that probably is why they weren't forced to sign for the draft, because it's probably because well, why would you want a woman to be in the military, right? That's probably the perspective back when they actually did that thing, right? So,
Ori the Fool super chatted $9.99. Wanted you to check a video out.
Okay.
I was going to gift some members but on my way to a wedding and can only use my phone.
No problem, brother. DM my Instagram and I'll see what you want me to check out, okay?
The responsibility of getting drafted.
Yes, because if we go to war, men get drafted.
And then it's the same now, as in we have.
We don't get drafted because there's plenty of people in the military. But like, again, I already kind of explained that one.
The responsibility to vote.
No, you asked about first wave feminism.
No, I asked which wave you were talking about, and you're saying you're talking about.
I said yes, because I think it's always been the same movement. It's always been a hate group. It's always been a supremacy movement.
Dude, I don't even think people in the manosphere would agree with her, bro. The feminist movement was predicated on the fact that men had a significant power dynamic in relationships. Now, that didn't mean that women didn't necessarily benefit. I mean, women benefited. They were able to stay at home and not have to work. And when it comes to raising kids, it becomes very difficult in those first couple of years, and it probably gets a little easier. I mean, it might be a little easier as time goes on, as they get a little older and a little bit more independent, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is that when you had this power dynamic, they didn't let you get divorces. It had men making all the money and all these different issues. Men were able to abuse their wives. Like physically and financially, and they didn't really have an option to get out, right? That's why we implemented like no-fault divorce and things of that nature, right? So it needed to exist. Women wanted and needed independence so that they wouldn't be able to be oppressed by a man. And that doesn't mean that all men were being oppressive to women at all, but it just takes a few. And then we're like, you know what? I just want the option to be able to work. And then women also are ambitious. Women want to work. All right. Some women do. Some women want to build a career. My wife does. Not all do. And maybe more men want to build more than women do. But it doesn't matter. There's still plenty of women who want to be able to do that. So that's what first wave feminism and shit was about. And to deny that, as I feel like even people who think men are better than women would be like, yeah, that makes sense to me. What are you talking about? What?
Let's say you lived your whole life, and your entire life, you're not allowed a job, you're not allowed a bank account, you're not given those rights. Let's say you get the right to vote. Woohoo, we've got the right to vote, right? And yet, we're not being drafted, right? But the rest of your life, you're being deprived of all of these rights. You're going to use one argument of the draft to say that?
The reason
she's right about that.
I understand the right to the draft, right? I understand. Okay, let's put women into the draft, right?
Sure. Do you want that?
Sure.
Equally drafted front line?
Where?
Yeah, sure. Who cares? The reality is that, like, bro, the way that equality is supposed to work is like if you can do a job, you should be able to do the job. Now, there are areas where like we may be reducing the standards for women, and I don't know if I agree with that, right? You know, we should be able to do a job, and if that job is more physically demanding, I don't think that we should force women to be able to be in that role just because they're women, right? I think that that's fair. But like, that's what it's about, man. It's just about, can you do the job? Oh, you can? Cool. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. We're all good. No, you got to put the link in the Instagram. I don't think you could put links in the chat. I have that turned off.
You're talking
like so I'm saying
I understand what you're saying.
I need you to. So you keep cutting me off, and it's quite rude.
Cutting you off because your statements are so. I know. Your statements are so made for the camera. Your statements are so made for the camera to be.
I'm saying just because.
Now I don't know if that's true. I don't know if her statements made for the camera, but we're seeing a lot of jump cuts, and I was just warning you about it. This is one of the problems that some content creators engage in, is they're desperately looking and orchestrating clippable moments when they're making content. It's real. If you look at Pearl's page, and Pearl's very successful. I'm not shitting on Pearl, but she has a lot of different clips with a lot of different clickbait. Her most popular videos are "Feminist gets destroyed by pick-me girl." I'm just kidding. I wouldn't doubt it that Pearl's looking for clippable moments. And you want to know what? Like, yeah, this shit happens all the time, especially when you're looking for like a debate. So for her to be like, yeah, you're looking for a clippable moment and I'm not going to give you the satisfaction. Okay. I mean, that might actually be happening. I don't know what you want me to tell you. She's just shutting down your ability to clip her out of context so that you can get a dunk post. You can put like a 20-second dunk post on her. You know?
Just that they're going to get votes. Cool, get it. Get your views, babe. It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. Babe, are you in the vote?
Even now, but this is what I'm saying. This is what feminism has allowed. You're being rude for no reason. Like, and that's like girls think they.
Well, no, feminism has allowed women to be as rude as men. Like, I don't know. Like, we can all be rude. Who gives a fuck? This woman's actually a little bit based here. You know, I don't know if I agree with everything she's saying, but she's kind of based.
Like because
to you and how you're talking to me.
Because I'm being very polite. I'm not cutting you off.
And yet when I was so when I was just starting my sentence, then what did you just do? You just come.
But you're constantly jump cutting around. So we don't even know the honest interaction that's happening here because you're constantly jump cutting her. So like, what are you saying to her? I have no fucking idea.
Me off. And yet when I start a sentence, and now you're rolling your eyes. That's not rude. Do you see what I mean? Every time I start a sentence, you cut it off.
Again.
You're being quite rude. I just think
I just listened to your entire statement, and when I responded, and you cut me off.
No, you're being quite rude, and I think.
And she didn't even show us what statement she made. She's constantly jump cutting here. Pearl got destroyed.
If you rewatch this later, you'll see the energy you're bringing. Men don't bring.
You can't rewatch it later because you cut it so out of context, Pearl. You just got fucking dunked on. Holy shit. The fact that you're hiding what you guys were saying to each other, it heavily suggests to me that you know you got fucking shit on. And that's why you edited it so hard. You used your privilege of being the content creator to be able to push this out of context in some way. Bro, you fucking dunked on yourself. You've withheld so much information. The jump cuts are fucking crazy, girl. Like, that's nuts.
Bring this energy. That's the thing. Like, women get away with this stuff. You're a pretty girl. That's why you get away with it.
Maybe, honestly, I really like. Do you agree fully with your statement?
Yeah. Women don't talk about. Men don't get. Women get into bars.
There's so many men's issues that we need to bring up.
Women get into some bars for free. Not every bar in the world is a free woman thing. What are you talking about?
I agree.
Men have higher suicide rates. They're working harder jobs.
Yes.
The pay gap, arguably, does not exist. Do we agree on this?
Yeah, I agree.
Wait, this woman is fucking based. Wait, this woman is based as fuck. Wait, you can't even label her as a pick-me girl because she's so fucking based. Holy shit. Oh my god, how funny is that? Oh, I just fucked up for a little bit. That's actually very funny. True. The conversation around when men take their lives at higher rates is I think that there's two aspects to it. Aspect number one is that oh fuck, I just fucked us so hard. Wait, no, actually one. Aspect number one is that we don't have a very big focus on men's mental health to the degree that we need to. We need to talk about it more. And one of those things, I really mean this, is we not only need to teach men that it's okay to talk about their feelings, not all the time, you don't have to cry about it, but we also, and this is something that's new, we need to allow men to express their feelings the way that they want to as men, as long as it's not harmful. In my opinion, I think that women tend to be a little bit more emotional in their expressive of opinions from like a sadness perspective, or both emotional, right? So women's it'll express itself as being like sad, maybe more crying, right? Which is totally fine. But men tend to get angrier, and I think that's fine too. And we shit on men, I think, for being angry. Let men be. I get angry. Let me be angry, as long as I'm not hurting anybody. But in the same way where if I get too angry, I could break things and hurt somebody, which is toxic. The same way if you get upset, you can take your own life or you can cut yourself. There's going to be toxic. It's okay to be angry as long as you deal with it the right way. And I feel like we shame men who maybe they deal with it. No, they don't have to cry. Maybe you want to deal with it and you need to express your anger in a light bursts before you explode. Sometimes you just need to be mad. And women do the same thing. So women should be allowed to be mad too. Sometimes you just need to be kind of angry, man. Sometimes I just want to be mad. And sometimes I want to be mad. Sometimes I get mad at something and I'm like, I'm fucking angry and I want to feel the anger because it makes me feel better. I just sit there and I just stew in it for 15 minutes and then I calm myself down and then I'm better. That's very normal. It's very human. I think that's a very man thing to do and there's no problem with it. And you want to know what? God bless my wife. She lets me do it. When I get angry, my wife gives me what I want for the period of time when I'm angry. When I get really fucking pissed, my wife recognizes it. She walks away and she lets me be angry for the period of time that I need to be angry. And then I come back and you want to know what? God bless my wife. There are times where I get angry at something I did and I take it out on her a little bit and she just walks away. And then I come back after a half hour and I say, I'm sorry. I did the wrong thing and I got angry. And she says, that's okay. Because I can be an angry guy sometimes. And when my wife gets upset, a lot of times she doesn't get angry. You know what she does instead? She gets upset. Maybe she cries. And I need to be there for her because that's how she needs, right? And that's the two of us valuing each other equally, but understanding that we have differences in the way that we express our anger and our emotion. That's what it's about, man. That's what it's about, right? So, like, that's what we really need to be focused on here is, like, expressing our feelings the correct way with each other. I should just go this way. They fucking changed everything.
Yeah. But that does not mean that feminism is a female supremacy movement.
I think it is.
Feminism, what's the definition? What definition do you give it?
The
definition.
Well, they talk about equality, but they don't mean it.
Who's they?
They don't mean it because
your own definition and define it for the rest of women everywhere. When there's women out there that are being abused, when there's women out there that have a higher chance of domestic violence, and you're going to stand here in Leicester Square where there's women passing by that are probably in domestic probably have violence by men. Okay, cut me off, because I'm making a good point. Cut me off. I hope you guys really. I will keep going because I'm making a good point. That's why you don't want to interrupt me, yeah? I hope you guys honestly feel like you guys are spreading a good message because all the women out here aren't feeling that you are. Okay. I honestly really feel like you guys are spreading a terrible message, and I'm so sorry that you feel this way because feminism is not a supremacy movement. Okay. It's a movement for equality because women out in the world are not equal to men.
How so? How?
True. I mean, if you want to argue in the Western world, like absolutely, like much more. Socially, we have some work to make, but ultimately, there's no law that oppresses women in the United States or any Western area. But in the rest of the world, absolutely, there are women who are forced to have to like cover up their entire bodies when they go out. There are areas where women can't even go out without a man, or else it's justifiable to hurt them. There are a ton of places where women aren't equal, right? That's one of the arguments for people like conservatives are like, fuck, we don't need feminism. Because look at the fucking Middle East. You know what I mean? Like, look at some of these women. They're not even allowed to go to fucking school. You know what I mean? So, like, overall, if that's your argument, I can understand it more, right? Like, yeah, you know, I think that feminism in the West is not as necessary. I can still have a conversation about how I think there's a couple of different ways socially that's not true, but like legally it is true. Like, there's no fucking law that like hurts women and helps men. Like we have a pretty solid case on like equal laws and shit. But like, what do you mean the rest of the world? You're gonna try to deny that there's like a necessity of feminism in the rest of the world? Like, what are you talking about, bro? There's no way.
In the West, how so?
In the West.
Oh, there you go. In the West.
What rights do we not have?
Why is it
She just said in the whole world, and you brought it to the West because you know that you're about to get fucking dunked.
If we look at the Oxford record of when women are hired against men, women are less likely to be hired because they're more expected to have babies and take maternity leave.
That's actually an interesting point. So just so you know, I don't know what she's referencing, so she could be wrong. But what I do know, and this is advice my mother gave me, she's like, never go into an interview with a wedding ring on and never go into an interview telling them that you have kids because it will speak against you. I wouldn't doubt it. And I'm not saying that this absolutely happens, and this would be a social aspect because there are laws that protect that type of discrimination. I wouldn't doubt it that like they will be like, I'm less likely to hire a woman in some jobs, not all. I don't know how widespread it would be because they could potentially want to have babies, and especially when you have like robust laws that allow women to go out on paternity leave and get paid still, like it might make a job less likely to want to hire you. I'm not saying that absolutely is what's happening. It might be, it probably is happening in some areas. I don't know how widespread it would be, but that would be her argument, and it's a decent argument because like some jobs will do that. That's why you want to protect yourself by not saying these things, because once you admit it, all of a sudden, yeah, you know, I don't know if you're the right fit for us, and it's not, they're not going to tell you why, right? So it's interesting to think about. I don't know if I mean, it would definitely be a woman's issue over a man's issue, because a man obviously isn't going to fucking, they don't need to leave their job. You know, there is paternity leave, which I think is a decent thing, maybe like a month to be able to stay home with your kid. I mean, obviously a woman births the child and has to recover physically while taking care of the kid, but I think paternity leave is a good idea, especially to help support that mother, because that's an intense process to go through. You just had a baby. It taxes your body physically and mentally. You're expected to be the primary parent. You could use a little bit of, you have to recover from the pregnancy. All that uterine lining sheds. I thought we pulled that. It's a fucking crazy process. It's a good thing for men to be able to take a month off or something, just so that they can be able to help the mother in the first 2 3. So we keep pulling shit. The first couple of weeks, for a couple of months to help their spouse out. Can you just run through here?
Necessarily true. Women.
It's like to be hired than men. Let's say I'm in my early 20s and I want to get a job. They're thinking, oh, she's going to have a job and she's going to get maternity leave for a year. I'm going to pay her for a year, but she's not working. So I'm less likely to get paid than a man.
How can you say that when we have quotas that are specifically for women? Quotas. They're yeah. Yes, I am. How can you? Can you?
Well, so diversity quotas aren't like 50% quotas, just so you know. They're usually like inclusivity quotas that are not necessarily like, you know, oh, you have to have 50-50 women. So I don't know if there's what quota she's referring to, but it's not like a 50-50 quota. So they could still potentially abuse that quota. You know, I'm not saying that they are. This is a very speculative conversation, but...
Can you let me finish my statement? Can you? No, I'm not. There's hiring quotas. Sure. There's quotas that companies have where they say we need to. See, you're cutting me off again. Yeah. Yes, you need to have a certain amount of females in certain roles. Why?
Because there's not enough female representation.
Because they don't want to do it.
It's the same way there's not enough representation of people of color.
Because they don't want to do it.
Because women don't want to have positions of power.
No, they don't.
You know what? I really wish you luck.
I mean, you could argue that nowadays quotas aren't as necessary as they used to. Back in the day, quotas were obviously implemented because like they wouldn't hire women, or they wouldn't hire black people, or they wouldn't do this or that. So that part's like definitely true. But like nowadays probably aren't as necessary with equality. I think they're kind of just left in just to like, just kind of to, I guess just because it's the law, right? I don't know if they should necessarily take them out. You could argue that, but it's just not necessarily because women don't want it. Nowadays, maybe women don't want it in those jobs, but back then it was because like women just weren't allowed to go into those roles. So if you look at it from a historical context, you probably, you're obviously gonna have a higher understanding of what's happening.
Women,
I really hope that when you're laughing. That's the thing.
Because it's shame, insult, guilt, and the need to be right.
It's not
shame. It's shame because right now you're trying to. You're right. Hold on. Right now. You are.
I really hope that you do some more research.
Okay.
You guys are really doing it.
Shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Shame. I will. Okay.
Well, isn't that what you do though? Like you constantly insult again, like fat women and like other women just in general. Like you'll constantly shame and insult women for a need to be correct. Don't you do the same thing when it comes to your engagement of okay, 86, gotcha. Don't sorry do the game thing. You do the same thing with women. You shame them and insult them and you disrespect them when it comes to like your advocacy for male issues when it's really just about shitting on women. So I don't know how you can make that argument. It sounds like a projection to me, right? Because even if you do think that men are superior to women, why do you need to be disrespectful about it? Like, wasn't it like so let's say you actually do think men are better than women and you have a lot of strong arguments against it. Why do you think it's so? Why be disrespectful about it? Don't you think that if you're correct and you could explain that calmly, that would get your message across better? But instead, you notice how all these male advocates, which usually just dunk on women, they spend their time disrespecting women instead of just being logical about their arguments. And then they take it and they clip it up because it's fucking based. They want to look based and they want to put stuff up for clippable moments. It's very disingenuous. So even if you're right, which you're not, you're being disrespectful intentionally to elicit a particular response because you're trying to emotionally invoke the people that you're engaging with. And it's like a little bit hypocritical for you to be saying like, oh, it's just shame, it's just this, it's that. It's silly, you know?
Bye. Welcome to World Star. I ask people their opinion on this topic if they agree or disagree. So it means it's at the expense of men. So it's not about equality, it's about being superior to men.
Exactly, so
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So we just ask people if they agree or they disagree.
Of course I agree.
So why?
Why does he agree?
Because I believe that there are no differences, and it's proven even in sports now that females can run fast, jump higher, swim deeper, etc.
Yeah.
Nevertheless,
What?
there are hindrances on women
Yeah.
that biologically and naturally,
Yeah.
such as giving birth and having maternity leave, and luckily now we have paternity leave. However, women tend to accept, not to go all the way to the top. Therefore, that's why we have the majority of the CEOs in the top companies and limited companies and firms are male. Fortunately or unfortunately, well.
Why don't you think we ever talk?
It just sounds like he's describing a difference between men and women. That women, I would say, probably don't try to climb the top as much as men, which is probably true. But then like women have paternity leave. I mean, I just want to know what the supremacy part is about. Like because there are some pockets of feminism that shit on men, but because women advocate for themselves, like I think paternity leave is a great thing that women should get paid for. I would say that that's something that feminism should advocate for because I think it has better outcomes for children, and families, because it's hard to give birth, carry the baby and give birth. It can take a lot of energy and effort, and it's a really difficult thing. So I'm for that. That's good for men and women generally, obviously. Just a person who births the kid, I mean, really, you know what I mean? Like if you have two lesbians or whatever, I don't really, they don't both need the same maternity leave, but like parental I think even men should get paternity leave, not as long as women, but like if you like to be home with the kid. I just like, where's the destruction part? Where's the destruction aspect of it? I don't understand that.
Talk about men's rights, like paternity fraud.
Exactly.
Paternity
Men
fraud.
deserve to be to people to sympathize with them because they work hard and they work hard.
Okay.
And they expect to work even harder.
What's paternity
whereas,
fraud?
They don't go shopping during the day, but they're supposed to bring the money for the female to go shopping during the day and night.
Do you think feminists only?
Well, you could just set that boundary with your partner and then not do that. I don't know what you're talking about there. I go shopping during the day because I work. I can like have a general. How am I taking no damage? I'm a little more limited. I don't know. Just have your partner not do that. If you're in financial control of it, then just. He must just have a wife that goes shopping during the day. My wife goes shopping too. I don't know. But okay. I don't know. Set better boundaries in your relationship, bro. Tell her she can't go shopping during the day if she doesn't make her own money. Okay.
Only care about equality when it doesn't benefit them. So, for example, we always hear about how women are in power positions, but they never talk about how men do all the hard jobs.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, we have to say.
Talking about like physical labor? Yeah, men tend to do more physical labor for sure. What's your point?
To
Women be shopping.
discuss both arguments of the subject matter and mention the fact that not all female, of course, and not all men, but to have equal rights, it doesn't have to be like parallelly equal, like exactly men should be exactly as female.
True.
It's like differences, opposites attract, and differences sometimes are great. You can be tall, I can be short, you can be white, I can be gray, red, but we can still be partners and colleagues and. Cooperate rather than compete.
What does equality look like?
I respect this guy. I agree with that. Like he's saying like, hey, we should have equal opportunity, but that doesn't mean that the outcomes are going to be equal. 1000% correct. Yeah, for sure. That's perfectly said. I agree with that. Right? Just because there's a disparity doesn't mean that there's an inequality. I agree with that 100%. Good for him. Like I respect that take. Right? Okay, cool.
Like to you?
Equality?
Is there anything we need to fight for in 2022?
Now it's 2023, hopefully soon. But what's remaining of the 2022, I think we should be fighting for what has been mentioned: more cooperation, less competition, more understanding, accepting, allowing. However,
Sure.
Not forgetting that.
Like I said, I think it's mostly social. I mean, I think that there's a few different areas that we could fight for, like a paternity leave and maternity leave and shit like that, rather. But yeah, sure. I think a lot of it's social. I think that like we should advocate against this manosphere garbage. Because it just tries to disrespect women more than anything else. I think that from a social perspective, we should have a higher you know what? Actually, I think that there's a couple of systemic things. Maybe we should have a higher appreciation for femininity in society because it's very powerful. Obviously, like there's masculinity and femininity, and I think that masculinity, ways that men tend to gravitate towards more like infrastructure jobs, technological jobs. Women like to go there as well, and socially we should allow them to. But like I think femininity expresses itself in our society through things like caretaking jobs and social work jobs, which I believe are criminally under supported. I mean, you get like $50,000 a year after, or $40,000 or $50,000 a year start for a criminal, for a social work job after a 6-year degree with a master's degree. But these people are very important, very necessary. Meanwhile, you get like a 2-year degree in computer science and you get more money. Now, I understand why. Of course, you should get paid more for computer science. Obviously, it makes more sense to me. Higher demand job, and I get that. But there's something to sit back and think about. Like, should we pay people who social workers more money? Because you can figure out tangibly how much like a man should be, or excuse me, how much like a computer scientist should be making versus somebody else. Because like it's easy to monitor that value. You're like, okay, they make this much money, or this thing brings in this much money in this industry, et cetera, et cetera. People are so fucking dumb. Right? But it's hard to, when it comes to social work, it's hard to measure the outcomes to the same extent. Right? But I think that we should value these people a little bit more. You know, these are very, these are very powerful, necessary roles. Where's the blue one? Okay, cool.
We are all one at the end of the day, no difference of color, race, geographical. To tend to remember where we come from in order to find, to realize, to think ahead, to know where we're going. However, the past is in the past. The future is, we don't know what's going to happen. So we just need to live the moment, stay in balance.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for stopping. I appreciate it. There's an inequality.
Yeah, I respected that guy. He has pretty, I mean, I can understand exactly where he's coming from. Pretty based.
Are you like the orgasm gap? Is that what you're talking about?
The orgasm guy?
There's an inequality. Are you like the orgasm gap? Is that what you're talking about?
I feel like we're going to rule the world, to be honest.
What society that has stood the testament of time has ever been ruled by women?
I've got no idea.
None.
Probably none.
Tribes that were female dominated.
Yeah, which one?
Yes,
I don't know, but there's articles about it in the New York Times.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, to be honest with you, this is kind of a dumb thing to engage with. To be like, well, where's there a male-dominated or female-dominated? Like, yeah, there's more male-dominated because men are more aggressive, obviously. But I think that women can do perfectly fine. I don't think that we have to have an entirely female-ruled society. Again, you have jobs. If you can adhere to the job, you get the job. I think that we could value from acknowledging the feminine perspective, usually a little bit more compassionate, but it doesn't mean that we should have a purely female-dominated society or male-dominated society, because our male-dominated societies have led to oppression. I think that we could have a little bit better a balance between the two. Could be pretty pogger. Yeah, Cleopatra, baby, boom.
The test of time.
The test of time now.
Yeah,
there have been.
I know there's exceptions.
Yeah, there's exceptions.
But not necessarily.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, the answer is just like, who cares? Like, why does that matter? Why just because we've had male-dominated societies, why does that mean that we shouldn't have some females in like domineering roles? Like, I guess she said that we should have female ones, but
women are more likely to wage war.
To what?
Wait.
Yeah.
Expand.
So women are more likely to start wars.
That
Examples?
doesn't surprise me.
Like when women are in power. You can just look it up.
Well,
No, that doesn't
but
surprise
women
me,
make
though.
better CEOs, especially in companies when in power.
I don't know if that's. There's so many different things I have to fact check. Women are more likely to wage war. I think I've read about this before. Sorry. So I had to read through these articles. I wanted to read through them before I started talking about them. I read through them. I'm going to link this up in the description and whatnot. So according to this, first of all, this is only within a 500 year period in like Europe, right? So it's not, it doesn't represent the entire world, but it's actually very fascinating. First and foremost, all these queens that they are like, I think 27% more likely to engage in war, but they're also they're not unmarried queens. They're all like married queens in some capacity, right? Because the unmarried ones would get attacked more because they were perceived as weak. But yeah, not only did they engage in war more, but they were more successful. So you could argue that this actually is an argument for women being maybe the women should be rulers if they're more successful in their aggression. That being said, that they're the ones that were married. There was a bizarre stability. And the reason they said, and I don't quite understand it, but is that because they're married, but there was like a rule that like a man couldn't succeed the domineering woman, unless he was like anointed in some capacity as like a co-monarch. So it meant that he had no real motivation to betray her for power, or couldn't betray her for power, which generally led to more stability in that capacity. Apparently, these women were also more likely to help their male allies in war than other men. So listen, it sounds like from the data that she's telling us, women actually make better rulers. They were engaging in war more successfully, and they were more loyal to their allies, and they had better marriages because, you know, which you could argue that that's sexist because, but whatever. I don't know, dude. I mean, listen, I personally wouldn't go there. I think that a mixture of men and women is the best. Clearly, it's true because these women tend to be, you know, still had male husbands. Not all of them, but some of them. But that's interesting. If anything, this makes it seem like women would be better leaders. I don't think that that's true. I think that we need a mixture. Whoever's can do the job should do the job. But it's this statistic makes Pearl look worse. It actually disproves her. Wow, incredible stuff. I should really save these references in my. I should really save these statistics in my history. I like to be able to have statistics on hand, just in case, and I can put them in the chat too. You know, just in case, what I have to deal with this shit in a more rounded way. But okay, let's continue. Fuck.
Huh? Women of power do better in business situations because they're a little bit more empathetic and copacetic, and they're able to manage.
I think so. That you think more women? You think more women would be part of the 1%?
Not necessarily, because we live in a patriarchal society.
You think it's because of the patriarchy?
Oh, of course, 100%.
Okay, why? There's nothing stopping me if I want to be a CEO.
No, there is, because you're in a patriarchal. Yeah, historically, it's a patriarchal society. Of course, men are men, and they're.
Like, what is it?
So, like, I hate people like him. He's just saying patriarchy. First of all, I don't know what statistic he's talking about. The women probably do have unique advantages of being more empathetic. I don't know if that means that they have better outcomes. But the thing is that, like, so what would make it difficult to become a CEO for a woman would be more from like a social aspect now, of maybe not allowing your daughter to pursue more businessy things and maybe trying to push her into more feminine traditional roles. That would be where it comes from more than anything else. You know, I think that this is changing every day. But it's more about it's more about the opportunity aspect, not the outcome aspect. You know what I mean?
Doesn't have to do with me today. I was born in 1996.
Oh my gosh. I hate when men try to explain that I am oppressed. Take your white knight ass for your girlfriend. Okay, respectfully, and you know, you seem like a nice person, nothing personal, but like, take your white knight ass and do that for your girlfriend. Take that away.
I think what he's referencing is what I'm reading here, that women tend to score higher based on a Pew Research thing on the characteristics that make tons of ads on my screen. The characteristics that are associated with a good leader, but that doesn't necessarily yeah. So okay, we got here. I should have done that. It's something. According to Pew Research Center report on what makes a good leader, characteristics such as honesty, intelligence, compassion, and innovation rank quite high on the rating scale. When comparing these traits between men and women, women scored higher in most of these categories. So that doesn't necessarily make you a better leader. You might have qualities that make you a better leader, but that doesn't necessarily get the whole picture together. Studies have shown that women also tend to rate themselves lower when it comes to assessing themselves. To me, this is a reason why women generally wouldn't be as good of leaders as men, is because that's a confidence issue. And if you're not a confident leader, you're going to be a bad leader. That's something, again, maybe there's a biological aspect, but I think that socially you need to learn to advocate for yourselves, both men and women, but in this case, women at a higher rate, and that's what that would come for. But they also highlight that with age, women become more confident to rank themselves higher, whereas men tend to rank themselves lower as they grow into seniority. Okay. Well, if you don't have the confidence from a young age, you're probably going to not do great. Okay. I don't know if I agree with his statement, though. It's not super proved, but okay.
Away from here. If your girlfriend wants to believe she's oppressed, and this girl didn't even really seem like she felt oppressed, but like whoever you're talking to or whoever you're doing this for, go take that there. Because here, we have winner mentality. We can do it mentality.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, so I'm saying, like, if anything, I think it's easier to be a woman, and at most jobs, like, I would say I've been given better treatment because I'm a woman.
In Europe or in the U.S.?
Both.
That's
okay. Interesting. Why do you feel that way? So I don't think that I've ever been in a job. I mean, so I used to work on buses, and they didn't really like it necessarily when women worked on the cleaning part. Well, women didn't really want to do it. There was one woman, she ended up doing it. I don't, what is she talking about? Here's the question: is like, I don't think I've ever gone into an area and been like, oh, I'm better off for being a man. And I don't think I've ever heard a woman say that about being a woman. I think that mostly nobody gives a fuck. I feel like because Pearl, I just don't think Pearl actually means what she says when she says, I think it's better to be a woman in jobs. Maybe it was a genuine experience, but like the way that she crafts everything is so anti-woman. I think that she just wants to be able to be like, see, I'm a woman and I did better. And I thought I was treated better than a woman. But like, what are some examples of how you felt like you were treated better? Because I just feel like she's kind of just saying that. And maybe I'm wrong, but based on the way that she talks, constantly using statistics out of context, to push an argument, I kind of feel like maybe she's not being genuine.
That's incorrect.
You're telling me that's incorrect?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm not even saying that she was treated worse. I'm just saying I don't think that she has genuine experiences that she could back up stuff with because she's a liar.
a man who's in the U.S. and has been in the industry for over 20 years.
What industry?
Equality. I've been in engineering and in advertising.
Okay.
Oh, good for you, brother.
But women don't want to be engineers.
Actually, they do. There's a whole thing STEM. Yeah.
Yeah, some women want to be engineers. Again, society, blah, 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 blah. We should let women do whatever they want.
No, they don't, because they don't enroll to be engineers in college. If we wanted to be engineers,
they're not enrolled. They're actually not nurtured to be into STEM. They're not given the opportunity to be in STEM.
But then why, when you look at the countries that have more opportunity to do what we want to do,
I'd like to read that. I'm curious.
on it. So like Scandinavian countries versus like countries in the Middle East where women have less rights, and it's pretty equal. Like the pay gap, it increases, it doesn't decrease. So in Middle East where women
I'm
on it. So like Scandinavian countries versus like countries in the Middle East where women have less rights, and it's pretty equal. Like the pay gap, it increases, it doesn't decrease.
In Saudi Arabia, the gap ranged between 39 and 48%. How the fuck are you trying to say that the pay gap is the same in fucking... Oh, she's so dumb. What? She just made a claim that the pay gap is bigger in Western countries? What? Dude, why... Are you dumb? I'm not trying to be rude, but how did you even come up with this statistic? It's like 40% compared to 82 in the United States. And again, once you normalize for like, the jobs and whatnot, it's like 90, it's like 98%. What are you talking about, dude? What?
So when women have more choice, the pay gap increases.
You can't necessarily say that.
No, you're just wrong. What?
Direct correlation between the two, right? Correlation is not causation.
No, I understand that, but I'm asking why is that?
That's a good question. I'm not a researcher on that, but
yeah.
I'm not saying that you can directly tie the two together, right?
I would say women, like, even just from anecdotal experience, like men are more likely to help you when you're a woman.
I've never not got what I wanted.
Yeah.
I never have not gone for a job and not.
Maybe. You might have the gender pay gap in MENA is just under 14%. Okay. Incredible. Middle East is between 20 and 40% pay gap. Incredible. So, okay. So, Jesus. Pearl just fucking boggles the mind, brother. Okay. Sorry. Give me a second. So when it comes to this idea that men will help women, that actually might be true. I don't know about if there's a statistic on that. But I'll say that when I was at my job, I was probably more charitable to the women than the men in some instances. It's very interesting. I remember talking to my wife. And I know my wife, but it was very interesting. A while ago, this is a story I like to tell because it was actually a pretty good story, is that we were driving and we saw construction going on. And it was the guys were doing the work and the woman was holding the sign. And I was sitting there and I made a joke. I was like, oh, of course, the fucking woman's holding the sign, right? And she's like, yeah, well, how do you know that they didn't make her hold the sign? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, I think a lot of men will assume a woman isn't capable of doing something. And so they will do it for them just because they don't think that they're capable. And I was like, oh shit. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, wait, that might be actually true. I might have done that before at my job. I might have been like, oh, whether it's a capability thing or a chivalry thing, like, yeah, maybe that is true. Because then you got other guys like, what are they? They're digging. A woman can dig, and then they're using machinery. Women can use machinery. they all have vibrators, right? They're probably better at machines than men. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And so there's a conversation about how in some instances women might just not do things because men will be like, nah, I'll do it for you. I'll take care of you, honey. And it's all well-intentioned kind of a thing. But like, it was just interesting. I was like, oh, okay, you know? And I think that that's potentially what they're talking about. And that's if I'm being charitable, of course.
Got it.
Yeah, anecdotally.
And I don't
But
get
I'm saying, and if I'm looking at data that supports it, like that's how I'm inclined to believe what I
data?
believe. So I'm
Oh,
curious.
totally.
So I'm
What
saying, like, why
data?
do you believe what you believe?
Because research shows, and research from what I believe is peer-to-peer evaluated, especially if you look at
Okay, what research? I'm just curious.
Oh, there's plenty of research. If you look at anything from
like which one?
Business Insider, New York Times, and New Yorker, a lot of them support the fact that women don't have as much opportunity as men. I'm not saying it's right, but I do believe that women should have the opportunity. And there are women who are discriminating against it. Look at pay gap, right?
Yeah, but the pay gap, like no two groups are going to be paid the same.
But they should be. That's why there's countries. You've seen there's certain countries that actually do have this openness about what people's salaries are, right? And when salaries are not disclosed, that's when you see a pay gap.
He's got a good point there. Like, again, when I talk about the pay gap, I've talked about it like in detail, and like, you know, there's different men and women make different choices. But one of the things is I think the remnants of the pay gap is mostly in those managerial positions, and that's the thing. If you're a woman, generally don't advocate for themselves as much. Maybe it's because it's biological. Maybe it's just learned to kind of like, you know, get what you get. They are not going to, like, they don't advocate for themselves as much. So they're going to get paid less, even if they're providing the same value in a job. Part of it could be sexisms, but part of it, or active sexism, or part of it could just be like they learn to try not to be too disruptive and be like, okay, and they kind of just take what they can take. So he's not necessarily wrong with that. It's a decent point.
I'm saying like 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So but I'm saying, how can we complain about something when like we're not asking for raises?
No, but Pearl, it's a great point. So now ask yourselves, why aren't women asking for raises? Then we start getting into like the real nitty gritty of the conversation, right? That's the intelligent part. But like you've taken this statistic and you've made a decision on it just based on the fact that you've gotten it because you want to dunk on women instead of being like, oh, why is that? Why do you think women don't advocate for themselves as much? Okay, you know what I mean?
Why are you not asking? That's a real question.
Because we're bitches. We're scared.
Do you not believe you're worth it?
Bitches.
Well, what do you mean?
Do you not believe you're worth what men
Like
make?
women. Well, women. No, I'm saying women are more agreeable, so we're more likely to agree. We're men. So, but I'm saying that's biology. That's not the society.
Biology.
Oh, part of it might be biology. Part of it might be societal. Part of it might be this guy just decided to die and not release. Okay. Okay.
I completely 100% disagree with biology. I'd like to hear why you think it's biology.
Well, I would just say like
You said biology. Why?
because throughout history, like men typically had to be more aggressive.
Biology. I want to hear the biological, physiological explanation for why you think that's the case.
I'm saying when you take men and women at large, right, and you measure their personality traits, like women are more agreeable than men.
Probably.
And I'm saying so.
So
And
then, like, why is that? Is there biology? Probably. Is there social teachings? Probably. It's probably a mixture between the two. You know, like most things are a mixture between multiple factors. It's not all one thing. Oh my God, you gotta be fucking kidding me right now. This is insane.
the reason I think that also is because if you look at countries that are more free, the pay gap increases. I think
it
it's pretty
doesn't.
easy, like when you look at things like
it doesn't.
Scandinavian countries, again, where they're more egalitarian, and like countries in the Middle East where they're less. Like that's pretty. You would agree,
that's
like
not true.
like Saudi Arabia, where women can't draw. You know.
I actually don't know if I agree with that statement.
They get paid less in Saudi Arabia. What the fuck are you talking about? She's just making things up now. Where is she getting her statistics from? What are you talking about? What the fuck? This is incredible. What an incredible fucking situation that's happening right now.
Free is a very subjective term. If you ask Saudi Arabian women if they're free, a lot of them would say they're actually freer than those who are from Christian-based countries. So I
You're
would
right.
agree with
You're
that.
right. But so the way I would say it, under the
How do you
law,
define free?
under the law.
That's still a
So
very
like.
good term. Under the law, if you look at Saudi Arabian law, or even if you look at the law for Islamic countries, women have a lot of power. Whether they exercise it or not is a whole different issue, and whether they're under a conservative.
So how would you define free then?
That's a great question. Depends. That's why I'm asking you.
No, I'm telling you what
Am I
I'm saying.
getting
So like.
gaslit in real time?
So the way I'm saying it is like men and women that have equal opportunity, there's no law holding them back. So like, for example, in Saudi Arabia a couple years ago, women couldn't drive. I would say that's not free. And when you look at countries that go
Do you think
like
driving equates to freedom?
partially, yeah, that's one freedom.
Oh yeah, it is a freedom. Dude, I just don't know what she's talking about. In 2021, the gap ranged between 39 and 48% for Saudi Arabia. What is she talking about? She's just lying at this point. I don't know if that means that they're, let's say, I don't know if that means that they're making 39 to 48%, or if it's like 39 to 40% lower. But either way, they're making like half of what a man does. How is she saying that the fucking pay gap is the same? She's insane. she's out here fucking lying to people. I don't understand. I'm looking at it on my screen right now. I'm so confused where she's like literally just weirdly lying about this. I don't understand it. I truly don't understand it. It's fucking psychotic though, and it's so bizarre.
Voting, that's another freedom. Like, education.
Voting, yes, education is sure another one, but
yeah.
Again, correlation is not causation, so I think you have
Well,
to
this
take
guy's an
into
idiot.
account other factors.
This guy respects women too much because he's just believing what this woman is saying. Like, I'd be like, that's not even true, and I'd look it up because it's not true. Like, you just fucking like you think about it for like 2.5 fucking seconds, and you're like, oh, this is definitely not true. But like he's just like, oh, I have to agree with the woman, so there's a conflict in my brain. You know? Just fucking disagree with her. She's wrong. What the fuck?
Around it. So driving, I think, is a great example of that. Voting and education, great. I think that's perfectly great, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't use driving as an example.
I would.
I wouldn't use driving as an
example. Education would you use?
Education, absolutely.
But is it driving and education?
It's an education to get somewhere, right? Yeah. But if there's transportation, that's another form.
Okay. Well, I was saying, like, if it was the case that...
It's not, so...
Continue. Yes.
No, it's okay. Like,
I'm curious.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm saying, like, if it was the case that we were really so oppressed and held back and it was the patriarchy, like, in the countries where we had more freedom, we would do better. And we don't, like...
You are. What do you...
Like, I think women pick different things. Like, women like people, men like objects.
Fucking idiot.
I'm not sure if I agree with that statement, but I know where you're going with that argument.
Like, okay, I'm one of 10. I have 10 siblings. I'm one of 10.
Yep.
5 boys, 5 girls.
Sure.
I was always told I could do whatever I want. My brothers are all engineers. I'd rather die than be an engineer. Props to you.
I was an engineer. I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I do it anymore, right?
Yeah, but I'm a nanny, so I'm a caregiver.
Did your parents bully them the same way they bullied you for your weight? Because that's something that you talked about, how your mother used to be really critical about your weight. So were they the same with them, or did they, instill a particular type of fucking issue on you?
And even if we look at like the hard jobs.
Female-oriented industry.
Yeah, I get that. I think even if we look at like the hard jobs, right?
What do you
Sure. Physical labor jobs,
plumbers,
usually.
electricians.
I think my job's hard.
You think physically hard?
Hard job, yeah.
Is that what you're physically
Yeah, more
demanding?
physically demanding.
I'm
yes.
sorry, a bricklayer? That's harder than a nanny. Like, just my.
No, it's not at all. And my job is very
If you're
hard.
talking about physically demanding, yes, there's certain
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, bricklaying is a more physically demanding job. I don't think it's harder than a nanny. I think it's probably more difficult than doing a nanny. But then again, when you think about this, because I was talking about it, like, women are obviously going to be in nanny roles more. There's something to talk about like how, yeah, like nannies should get paid decently. I mean, you're watching somebody's watching your kid, help raising your kid. If somebody's taking care of your kid, they're help raising your kid to something like that. There's a whole conversation to have about that, I suppose. I really just can't get past this gender pay gap thing. I don't get it. I don't know where she's coming from with this. Just don't get it.
I'd say jobs that would probably be easier for a certain gender, but gender is also something that I think you need to define as well.
To define gender?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, if you're born a man, if you're born a
What does
woman.
that mean? How do you define born as a man?
So, like, yeah, gender exists. We understand that trans people exist, but a trans woman and a trans man are not going to have the same experience. I think trans women and trans men they're men and women, right? They're women and men. Trans woman's a woman, trans man's a man. But you're going to have a bit of a different experience as a trans person. Like a trans woman is still going to maintain some of those biological advantages, might be able to do things that the cisgender women they can't do, especially if they go through male puberty. We're getting a little too woke in this conversation. What? Oh, my fucking God. There's a fucking dragon right there. Holy fuck.
The chromosomes, like XXXY.
People who are born with 3 chromosomes or 1 missing chromosome. How do you find them?
I don't know how I would define.
It's funny you say that because there's more people who are born with an extra chromosome than people who are redheads. So they exist more than you do. So how do you find them? They're not men or female.
I don't know. I don't know how I define them.
And that's why I asked the gender question.
Okay.
What
do you mean? I would just say like. For
you said gender.
But I'm talking about the rule. I'm not talking about the exception. So, but I'm saying like a lot of times, I'm not trying to be rude. But you keep interrupting me when I'm trying to talk. And, like,
your arguments don't make sense. That's why I'm interrupting you.
I know, but like again, that's rude. Like this is supposed to be a polite conversation. No, it's not polite when you keep interrupting me.
I thought this is a place of free discussion, and apparently we have free rules.
Yeah, I mean.
Is this equal?
She's been complaining a lot about people interrupting her. I wonder if it's because she's a woman and she complains more, or if because maybe people are, being more aggressive against her because she's a woman. I feel like I don't know. I mean, I've been interrupted in conversation too, but it feels like the threshold's pretty low for her to get upset. But maybe she's just cutting out all that stuff and dude, are you fucking kidding me right now? Come on, man. Healer, bro.
I mean, if you're, aren't you supposed to be more agreeable?
I am. That's why I'm nicely telling you, and I'm not interrupting you. Actually.
I mean, you should fight for what you want, right?
Yeah, we should. And that's
the
okay, know what we're even talking
All right.
about.
This is
I don't. You're
very
talking. You're talking about exceptions, right? And a lot of times, because the majority of people are born with 2 chromosomes, not 3.
True.
So, and that's what I'm saying.
And even people, well, I mean, chromosomes. I don't know. Most people are born like non-intersex. Even people who are born intersex, they generally are like pseudo male or pseudo female. So they're still gravitating towards one area for the most part. I don't really know what that has to do with the conversation though.
I'm talking about the rule. I'm not talking about the exception.
There's no rule though. That's a problem. I think you need to use the right terminology.
Do you think that gender doesn't exist?
Annoying.
I agree that gender does not exist.
So how would you?
Gender exists objectively. One of the things that really annoys me when people will say things like, "Oh, gender is socially constructed," is like, yeah, sure, gender is socially constructed. Kind of, but that doesn't mean that gender doesn't exist, right? So what are the ways that gender is socially constructed? We're born male or female for the most part. Yeah, obviously intersex people exist, right? The social construct aspect of it is like how we label gender, the way we decide to. If we wanted to, we could have labeled intersex people as their own gender, but we didn't. We labeled it as like as an anomaly instead, right? Now the concept of social constructed gender is like, oh, the different roles that men and women take, which change depending on what society you're in, right? Oh, what clothing is like, right? What is it? Fucking some men wear dresses. What is a kimono? Well, that's just a dress, dude, right? So, the things that people wear, the roles that they take. Obviously, there are some roles that men and women gravitate towards, regardless of society. Of course, that's just an objective truth, right? But they're like some of it's socially constructed. Oh, what the fuck, dude? I don't know where these dragons are coming from. I'm a fucking idiot. Dude, I have to like play better. Holy fuck, I'm bad at this game. I'm the fucking shit fucking player in this game. Dude, I'm so upset with myself. Holy fuck. Just did that. Yeah, so that's like the concept of like socially constructed gender, but that doesn't mean that there are no like general rules that exist. I mean, it's fucking preposterous for this guy to even like suggest that. He's too woke.
Do you define a man and a woman?
I don't define a man and a woman.
So could I be a man?
You could if you'd like to be, yes.
How?
No, you
So
can't.
depends on how you define a man. I don't believe in the binary system.
Okay, explain more.
Explicitly
So like
clear.
once again, as we went over this once before, 2% of the population, which is more than people who are
Bro, so this is just like invalidating to trans people that like with gender dysphoria that are like really going through like a heavy struggle. So like I hate arguments like this in general. Why can't they come up here? Like what the fuck? Because it's just like, oh, you can do whatever you want. That's not what it is to be trans. Like people aren't just being whatever they want. There's like a genuine feeling of distress associated with them with not being able to express themselves in a particular way, to the point where like they're born in a way that like causes them to have like, you know, to their gender to not align with their sex, right? What he's saying is just like invalidating of trans people that like are going through significant like gender dysphoria and shit. So okay.
Okay, but I'm talking about for me, not the 2%.
Well, I'm drawing a comparison, if you allow me to, and not interrupt.
Okay, go ahead.
There's more people that are born with an extra chromosome who are not men or female, who have not only one genitalia but 2.
Okay.
I don't think there's anybody that's born with like 2 full sets of genitalia. So
describe a man or a woman depends on what society they live in. Some describe it as a genitalia. Others believe it's on hormonal and which one is greater, testosterone or whether it's estrogen.
no, that's stupid, because then men with like higher estrogen levels would be considered women. That's not how you would ever monitor that at all. You're just really boiling this down. Okay.
If you look at the Olympic system right now, Olympics now defines it as having a certain level of testosterone or estrogen.
That doesn't define them as men or women. That's just like it's a policy. And frankly, trans women just shouldn't compete in sports. I don't mean to say that antagonistically. It's just like they have a biological advantage even with their hormone levels more like, cisgender women. But okay, that's a whole conversation for a different day.
On genitalia, there's women who have been excluded from female competitions
Yeah, I think
because
it's
they have a
wrong.
higher level of testosterone.
No.
But they were born with female parts.
So
Are they female or male? They're excluded because they're female.
So if
But they're still
LeBron James went on estrogen for 2 years,
They would be excluded.
so he could compete in the women's division?
You shouldn't be able
according
to.
to the division,
I have a
according
fucking
to people who
heel?
govern
Like,
that sport, they probably would be excluded. Yeah.
dude, where's the fucking healer?
I'm not the one who's an expert on that. I leave that to experts who are medical physicians.
Based on like common sense.
I'm not an expert in physiology or biology. I'm not a doctor. Wouldn't you leave it to experts?
No, I mean I play.
Do you believe in climate change?
I don't have an opinion on climate change.
You don't?
Yeah.
Do you believe it happens or not?
Sure, it
Would you
does,
that's the
but holy
experts on?
fuck. He got way too woke with this argument, and he just ended up losing the argument because he decided to fucking do this stupid shit.
My point is leave it to the experts.
I don't know. I think there's some conclusions you can just draw, like what is a man and what is a woman.
All the statistics that have been just studied show that, like, you know, trans people maintain like a biological advantage. Like what he's saying is just like fucking. He's getting a little preposterous with some of the shit that he's saying at this point. I should be able to just pull this.
It's not fact. So I leave it on
Do
fact.
you?
Yes.
Do you? The
Yes.
LeBron James.
I'm not the governing body nor the experts on that. So I would leave it on those who actually have that
Okay,
expertise.
well, they disagree with you.
Okay, thank you for stopping. Appreciate it. I like how the girl said good. I'm telling you, we don't want to liberals. We don't want to liberals. You hear her out of the horse's mouth. All right, agree or disagree with the sign?
No, I disagree. I can't lie to you.
Why?
Because I'm not gonna lie to you. Female right now, because of whatever you're actually taking right now, they're saying like they're better than men, and that's not true. It has to be equal because they give them a lot of power, which is like as a male, you go ask a female, even if you went like literally in prisons, they're gonna believe her, not you. Because like, if she said that you're harassing her straight, they're gonna say yeah, you do, and you might gonna go in jail for it, and that's not true. They should have to like give as a male a bit like has to be equal. That's all I can say.
Oh, so I think we agree.
Yeah.
Okay. I think what he's saying is that like a woman can make a false claim about a man and they can go to jail. Maybe. I don't know if that's actually true. From a social perspective, because like, I mean, I don't think that that's true from a domestic violence perspective. I think that a lot of times domestic violences are like under, you know, managed. But either way, socially, like, yeah, a woman can just make like a false accusation about a man, like from like sexual assault or something, and can destroy that guy's career. So if they want to say that, like, sure, that's an issue. I don't think that that's about feminism. I think that's people who weaponize feminism to take advantage of it, because people who like lie about being sexually assaulted by somebody are just like ending up like invalidating actual survivors. But okay.
You agree about that?
Yeah, I agree with you. Women. It's not about equality. Women think they're better than men.
Now, but females thinking like you're better than male, and that's not good.
I'm confused. I'm confused right now, G.
I know it's not good.
So
I agree.
You agree on that?
Yeah, that's why it's a supremacy movement, because women want equality at the cost of men. They want to be above men.
Let's be honest though.
Yeah.
In real life right now, do you think who's got the most power in the UK?
Women.
Innit?
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
We make 70 to 80% of consumer buying decisions, and a bunch of simps tell us what we want to hear all the time.
I mean, so like, yes, they like make more buying decisions for sure. Oh my god, I can't handle it. He's so tilted. Not by her, by the game. Yeah, women make more buying decisions, and like men are okay with that. Like, I don't. Okay, that doesn't so again, the existence of a disparity, we've said this 100 times, doesn't mean that there's like an abuse. Like, my wife makes a lot of decisions for like what she wants to buy in the house. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I don't. This is how most men are. They don't give a fuck. You want to buy like a thing? Oh, you want what kind of table? I don't care how my house looks. I don't care what my wife wants to do. She likes that, and I'm fine with that. Right, but if we're gonna buy a car, I'm gonna make the ultimate decision. Like, so we're not fucking. I'm not. You're telling me I'm oppressed by that? Like, I don't understand. Oh, women. This is what I'm saying. So funny is that they're talking about how like, oh, everybody's telling women that they're oppressed and they're not. But like, you're telling me that I'm oppressed because I'm married to somebody who likes rubber duckies in the bathroom. It's like, no, it's not that deep. You can't flip the script. I just fucked myself so fucking hard. In my defense, the mage died, and that fucked up everything, and I'm fucking pissed. But like, stop telling me I'm oppressed.
But I don't like that. I'm not happy with that.
I'm not either. Like, why don't we have DNA testing?
We do have DNA testing. So what is she talking about? Okay, I think what she's talking about, and just note this, that I've been tremendously charitable to this person. I heard somebody talk about how we should have mandatory DNA testing every time a woman has a baby, just to make sure that they have the right father. I disagree mandatory wise, but I think that that you should always be able to do it. Like, if you're a man and you're like, I want a DNA test for this kid, you should get it. You should have a legal right to it. Not all men want that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do that. My wife's not fucking cheating on me, so I don't care. But like, I agree with that. Sure. I don't know if it's illegal to do that. Is it illegal to get DNA testing for your kid without consent of both parties or something? I don't know if that's true. I'll look into that after this, boss, I guess. But if that's your argument, sure. That doesn't communicate like a profound issue though of inequality. But I think things could. Bro, how is this kid dead?
But anyways, I don't know, but I think they have to change this. That's all I can say.
Who has agenda? Come on, let's talk. Disagree, come on. Tell me why. Come on, let's talk. Tell me why. What's your opinion?
Andrew Tate is the best person alive. He's basically God. We praise him every night, innit? And basically, Andrew Tate all the way, bro. Alright, listen, Andrew Tate all the way. Andrew Tate's a gangster, bro. Wallahi. I don't listen to this.
Andrew, come on the pod. Come on the pod. Feminism is a female supremacy movement. Agree or disagree?
Completely disagree.
Tell me why.
Well, first of all, I think like feminism as a movement has become.
So what I actually liked about this interview was that she was very open-minded. And what I don't enjoy is coming into a conversation and just feeling like talking to someone is, you know, there's no point, like it's completely lost. And what I liked about her is that even though we disagreed, we still could have a productive conversation and, you know, maybe even find a little middle ground.
More of a movement for white women. Like it doesn't really like include women of color.
I mean, that's not true. I understand what she's saying. It's that, so this comes into a conversation about like homogeneity versus heterogeneity into different like advocacy groups, right? So like feminism is for all women, but then like black women also have like a particular issue as a marginalized group of like women. So it doesn't advocate fully for black women or the issues that they may face in their particular area. That doesn't make it for white women. That's going to be the group that's going to be the most positively represented, you'd say, because that's the only form of oppression a woman has is being a woman, whereas a black woman obviously would have like multiple forms of oppression. So sure, they're like, the problem is that you can't, like, it makes it difficult to bring too many different, like, imagine the feminist movement included like people of color as well. It would get so overloaded and it would have a hard time actually balancing itself. You can't focus on too many things at a single time, right? So that's what one of those issues is, right? So then there has to be like a different advocacy group, right? Just like with black rights, they don't focus on women's issues there. Black women, you know, are treated disproportionately to you know, black men, you would say, as well. And like, but they don't address that in black movements either, right? So it's just one of those conversations about like how much you can deviate from talking about like how many different things you could talk about at once in a group, because you'd get off tilt, because you wouldn't be able to, like, it wouldn't work out. Because if you're advocating for multiple things, like right now, let me give you an example. People will like, okay, so I have to chill a little bit. All right. So there was an issue in a school where what was happening is there was an LGBTQ flag and it got removed. They were forced to someone died. They were forced to remove the flag. The thing is, though, it wasn't because it was LGBTQ. It's because it had like the BLM part attached to it, and it was more of a race issue than like a gender issue or whatever LGBTQ issue, right? That is something that can happen if you get too off tilt. You're advocating for too many things at once, and it gets difficult to do your advocacy in a way that is like going to be the best for the primary group that you're advocating for, right?
And things like that. But I think like saying it's a female supremacy movement, I just don't think that's true.
You don't think that women only complain about double standards when they don't benefit them? So, for example, we always talk about how women aren't in the 1% of like income, but we don't talk about how women don't do any of the hard jobs.
What's a hard job?
Bricklaying.
We do talk about it all the time. That's why there's part of the disparity comes from that. Holy fuck.
Plumbing, electricity, oil rig.
But are people allowing women to do those jobs?
Yeah.
But it's also, you have to take into like consideration the genetic differences.
They may not actually. You can pull the bus around the other side. Sure. Let's just wipe again.
Between men and women when it comes to jobs like that, like hard labor jobs like that. So
we're only talking about equality when it doesn't benefit us. So like what is a right that I don't have in 2022? What's holding me back as a woman?
Abortion.
It's legal up to 6 months in the UK.
Around the world it's not.
Okay. So why, even with that, right? Men don't have the right to not be fathers. So that's a right that women have that men don't.
But a lot of men aren't fathers.
Is that your opinion?
The men can just walk away. They may not be able to financially disconnect themselves. That's fair to say. Okay. Okay.
Opinion on men?
Yeah.
That the majority aren't fathers?
I mean, both parents can do that. The thing is that for women, it becomes a person at like an earlier time. Okay, they want me to pull around the whole fucking sphere. Let's do that. Sure.
I don't think the majority want to take the responsibility of being a father. And if they are a good father, they're praised more than they should be when it really is just like no woman gets praised for being a mother.
On mothers?
Okay, well that part was stupid. Like we should praise both good mothers, but I don't know what she's talking about with that issue. But okay, sure. Sure thing. You should be if you're a good mother or a father, you should be praised. Dude, come. Try not to get too angry here.
There's Mother's Day, there's Father's Day.
But even on Father's Day, like women, single mothers will say their mother, like they'll celebrate themselves on Father's Day. But you don't really see fathers doing that on Mother's Day.
Because we have a lot more single mothers, okay?
Because they're not being fathers.
But, like you see, but see, even with you, right? Like I sense a slight disdain for men because yeah. And that's you're kind of proving my point,
right?
Because when I talk to girls with this mindset, like it's they want to be better than men or they think that women are better than men. Because
I think in a sense, yeah, actually, I do think women are better.
So yeah, so you kind of agree with the side.
Maybe, yeah. Now I'm like changing my mind.
Yeah, because like most of the time,
I think the way like me reading the sign at first glance, like it makes it seem like it's a negative thing.
It is.
I don't think
it's sexist.
I don't know.
You don't think it's sexist to think you're better? You don't.
I think the world is like already very like sexist towards like women.
Okay.
And I think because of all the sexism that has happened up till now, women want to be better than men. Because I mean, honestly, like women should take revenge. That's my.
So I have a question. How were we oppressed historically when we didn't have to fight in wars? So men have protected us throughout all of history.
But who are they protecting us from? Like when men say they're protecting us from like whatever, who are they protecting us from?
Evil people.
Usually it's other men.
Yes, you're right. You're right. But even like that's true, right? Men do commit more crimes, and like I'll give you that. They're more disagreeable.
Sure.
Is,
disagreeable.
Like, it's because women can't. Like I'm honestly, when I do street interviews, I'm not afraid of men. I'm afraid of women. I'm afraid of getting punched in the face.
Okay.
By a woman.
That's also because you're holding up a sign.
But I'm saying if I hold a sign that most men disagree with, they don't treat me like that. Because sometimes I'll hold up signs like the opposite just to get people talking. But it's only women.
Well, what are you talking about? I guess she's in constant fear of getting hit. I doubt that. You're holding up signs that are sexist towards women, so it's going to upset more women. I'm so confused. What's her point here? Okay. Does she feel like she's going to get hit? Oh, fuck. I just fucking ate that so hard. I'm so fucking irritated right now. Holy fuck. I'm having such a bad time right now. I'm fucking tilted beyond. I'm bananas tilted right now.
Women that treat me like that.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's a very specific situation. I would say in general, like, you know, walking in the streets, I'm usually scared to leave my apartment because of men, of how like other men make me feel. And I think like
maybe, and part of that can just be like her focusing too much on her. Like, so listen, for one thing, women tend to be, women have like obviously there's a power dynamic from men to women, right? Where like a woman can't go out at night without being in fear of getting raped. But then there's also part of this that could be like she's just overly focusing on it, and like you know there's like almost like creating a victim mentality in her in some capacity. Like if you go out in the day, you probably don't need to be afraid of men. But okay.
Like the way, like the thing is like even when it comes to things like rejection and things like on a night out, like if I'm kind of scared to reject a man in fear of him hurting me, like physically or like physically hurting me, men don't have to worry about them. If they get rejected, it's just like embarrassing for them.
That's
they don't
fair.
have to fear for their lives.
So there's two things. So the first part you talked about walking home alone at night. Why are you entitled to security in a dangerous city? So men can't.
What? Why are you entitled to security in a dangerous city? Pearl just said that like women shouldn't be entitled to walk home. This is undoable. These people are fucking horrible at the game. I don't really understand. There was constant just death. What are you talking about? How is it? Oh, why are you entitled to security? Because we live in a fucking structured society? Was she an idiot? I don't understand. What a fucking dumb argument. What the fuck? Okay.
Can't walk home alone at night. They could get mugged. Men are more likely to be victims of a violent crime than women. So
I've literally been like
sure, men and women, I guess. I guess that's true. I accidentally pulled this. I just don't care anymore. I'm so burnt out on this dungeon. These dudes are so fucking horrible at the game. It's incredible. Sure, men are more likely to perpetrate, but women don't have the ability to defend themselves. That's kind of like the whole point here.
I've literally been like almost punched like walking late at home at night unprovoked. So it's like, I don't think you can compare I don't think you can compare like specific like situations from each other. And like I would say like as a whole, it's just more scary for women to like leave their homes and like not expect something bad to happen to them.
But I'm saying why when men are more likely to be victims of a violent crime. Like I think can I
Okay, so we're talking about violent crimes. We're not talking about like getting mugged on the street. For sure, men are more likely to be victims from other men. You can't really call that a men's issue when men are getting hit by other men, I don't think. But okay. Jesus Christ. How fucking base can we be here, guys? What are you talking about?
Can I finish?
Like, can I other men? You know what I mean? Like, not women committing those crimes.
I mean, Amber Heard. Look at what happened.
Okay, yeah, that's what.
That did happen. Okay, Amber Heard. That's okay. That's not indicative of violent crimes. Most, if you're looking at the statistics, statistically speaking, men are the ones getting attacked by violent crimes and causing them. So to bring it to a specific instance seems a little bit disingenuous to me, Pearl. But okay.
One situation out of like.
So in most domestic abusive relationships, both people are hitting each other. So it's not one-sided. Like both parties are hitting each other. And men
listen. I have to look into this more because I looked into it a little bit. There is this claim that women are like that there's like an equal amount, and that what people will usually say is that women are just trying to fight back against each other. Now there's more evidence. There's stuff that's coming out saying that may not necessarily be true. I don't know that what she's saying is true. I don't think that it is. But I'm not going to speak on it too much. So yeah.
Men are more likely to be victims of one-sided abuse, where the woman's hitting the man and he's not hitting back. Because men face consequences in society, women don't. Men get 3 times the amount of sentencing for the same crime as women. We get away with shit. I mean, even did you hear about that car accident?
Dude, there's so many. You know what? We're gonna pause the video here.
Bad to happen to them.
But I'm saying why when men are more likely to be victims of a violent crime. Like I think can I finish? Can I
other men. You know what I mean? Like, not women committing those crimes.
I mean, Amber Heard. Look at what happened.
Okay, yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I think that we already know that statistically, men are the ones that are perpetrating these issues, right? So there's fucking clearly a reason for that. More than 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in the U.S. will experience rape, physical violence, and are stalked by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Okay, nearly 20% of physical abuse, right? Nearly 20 people per minute. Okay, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner. So it seems like women are the higher rates of getting hit or violent abuse. Intimate partner violence accounts for 50% of all violent crimes. On a typical day, there are more than 200,000 phone calls placed worldwide. About 1/3 women have been in a relationship they can't. So okay, 1 in 4 gay men, 1 in 3 bisexual men, and 3 in 10 heterosexual men will experience rape, physical violence, and are stalking by an intimate partner. So it sounds like gay men are disproportionately higher likely to be engaged in like these types of abuse situations. 44% of lesbian women and 61% of lesbian women experience rape. Oh wow, it's actually no, maybe that's not true. That's very high. Wow, holy fuck. Well, bisexual, I guess could. Well, bisexual mean that they're dating a man or a woman. It's actually pretty high. Even women in lesbian relationships experience like rape and violence or stalking. That's crazy. Okay. So 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced physical violence by a partner. It becomes 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men who experience. Okay. So it seems like that the abuse is somewhat comparable, but the abuse is more severe from men to women rather than from women to men, which makes sense just physically. Only 34% of people injured by a partner receive medical care. Okay. Why do we ignore male domestic abuse? There are also factors that play into men don't come forward to talk about their abuse. That makes sense. Unfortunately, many of these reasons are a catch-22. Society doesn't talk about male domestic abuse, so men don't bring it up. Okay, that's fair. The fewer men who talk about it, the less society wants to talk about the issue. Here it comes. Yeah, we should obviously advocate for men to be able to come forward about their abuse. Be able to come forward and express themselves, their feelings, and okay, that's fair. Society focus on female abuse. Okay, so this is an interesting conversation about how like when it comes to domestic abuse situations, men are probably disproportionately, they're not disproportionately affected probably, but they're disproportionately shamed for coming forward. The thing is I wonder how many women underreport domestic abuse too, because a lot of times these are in like a lot of the domestic abuse seems to be in a one-sided power dynamic where it's like the guy has the money. So I definitely agree that men probably underreport, but I wonder if women also underreport out of fear of getting harmed. Because let's just go traditional, like a woman gets harmed, they go to a battered woman shelter, 2 days you have to go back home. Like there's not a whole lot you could do from a permanent perspective. So there's not a whole lot they can be able to do. I feel like this is an overall issue. It's probably underreported, but okay.
Because men face consequences.
It's a good conversation to have when it comes to men getting put in domestic abuse situations. So.
In society, women don't. Men get 3 times the amount of sentencing for the same crime.
So when it comes to this disparity, I haven't been able to figure out if any of the variables specifically will talk about this, like the how many times the same crime was committed between a woman and a man. So there's a possibility that maybe the same crime, but not the same frequency of the same crime. You know, if you do the same crime twice, you're obviously going to be more likely, or if you have a prior criminal record. So I couldn't find any information on that in either direction. So sorry about that. But yeah, it seems like women are men get like 63 or 60-ish plus percentage longer sentencing and are less likely to get off. That could have to do with the fact that the judges are looking at women and being like, I'm going to give them a break. It's totally possible. For sure, that's fair. I'd say that a big issue too is like the prison system is pretty fucked, and then when men go to prison, they are like substantially more. Well, it seems like they're substantially more likely to get raped, and shit like that. It's probably a much more toxic environment, and that's a whole conversation again about reforming the fucking criminal justice system. But okay.
As women, we get away with shit. I mean, even did you hear about that car accident? That car accident. Can I finish?
I don't think women of color have like the same privilege as white women to get away with like the same shit.
Even in LA, that girl wasn't white. The girl in LA that just caused that car crash. She was like Hispanic or something. And she killed. Let me finish. She killed 6 people and she walked.
I just looked into it. This woman didn't get away with anything. What are you talking?
The girl in LA that just caused that car crash. She was like Hispanic or something. And she killed. Let me finish. She killed 6 people and she walked.
No, she didn't. The trial is still ongoing, from my understanding. She's charged with 6 counts of murder or 5 counts of murder. I think that they're still in the trial. I think she's trying to plead insanity or whatever you call it, mental health, but she hasn't walked. I couldn't find anything yet. And her bail was $9 million. I think that she's being held at a potentially like a psychiatric hospital. Pearl's just like lying right now. Why? What is she talking about?
Probably white passing 1, 2.
No. Oh my god, you're so fucking annoying. I hate fucking liberals. They're so obnoxious. They're just fucking black as fuck. What are you talking about? This is the nurse. Okay, this is the fucking nurse. This is not white pass. She's probably white passing. Shut the fuck up. Both of these women are dumb as shit. One woman saying that she got away with it. The trial is still ongoing. I believe she's being held in a fucking facility. She's facing up to 90 years in prison for fucking vehicular manslaughter, 6 counts of murder, and 5 counts of vehicular manslaughter. She hasn't gotten convicted because this happened less than 2 months ago, or this happened like 2 months ago. She's black. She's fucking looks very black to me. Sorry, racism moment. It's just so weird.
That's like one situation out of many situations that white women have.
That's why I accept it. Like, what is her name? Look into that. Do fact check Pearl. She comes off as so dumb.
Gotten away with. Like again, like feminism and like the privilege that women have. It's not the same. Like
I'm divorcing my white wife at this point. I'm just gonna marry a fucking black girl only because I hate this. White women have too much power in society. They're so obnoxious. Oh my god. Holy fuck.
White women privilege, like they have more privilege and they benefit more from certain things that women of color don't.
Do you believe in pretty privilege?
To an extent.
Of course. It is. Yeah, there are like 1,000 different privileges. Of course, it's called the halo effect. People who are more attractive to society tend to be treated better. Absolutely. That's why when it comes to women, women who don't look what society would say is attractive tend to get shit on a little bit more because we tend to value women more and like their attractiveness. If you don't think that's true, look at any of Pearl's podcasts where she just relentlessly shits on fat girls.
Yes.
Who's more privileged, an average white girl or like Willow Smith?
Willow Smith, of course.
An average white girl for sure.
You think more than
this woman's dumb.
Willow Smith?
Yeah, 100%.
Willow Smith has tons of money. It's so I fucking hate these motherfucking progressives so much.
I'm sorry. She was born into a 1% family.
If Willow Smith was not Willow Smith, if she was just a regular girl.
No, but she's not. So,
yeah, but I'm saying.
So we're not like. So let's not talk about if. Let's talk about what is.
But you can't compare yourself to Willow Smith. But if you compare like you to me, like you do have more privilege than I do, or my friend does. Like
we don't necessarily know that. This is the problem. This is where like this is like a victimhood mentality, right? Like there is oppression, and then there is identifying with oppression. You know what I mean? And people who identify too much with oppression are failures. That's what ends up happening, right? So, for instance, I grew up without a dad. That's a form of oppression. Boom. But I don't feel oppressed by that. I don't let that get to me. Now, there are people who are more oppressed than me, obviously, and it can be difficult for them to like monitor that. But like this woman on the left is perfectly intelligent. She's expressing herself perfectly well, and she's just starting to go around and talk about how she's oppressed and blah, 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 blah. You're a failure. You're going to always be a failure, and you're always going to be a fucking loser because you have an oppressed mentality that you're letting get to you to the point where you won't even admit that Willow Smith is more fucking advantaged more advantage than like an average fucking white person. It's embarrassing for you. It's just stupid, and nobody looks at you and goes, wow, that's smart. You just like, this is an intelligent girl who just heard something from a professor and she just doesn't know how to cope with it because she doesn't think critically.
I don't think so. I think you guys. I would say you guys are both prettier than me. You probably have pretty. Like I think you have more pretty privilege.
But like pretty privilege aside,
Probably,
like,
sure.
and a lot of pretty privilege, like people look at things like skin color, like race, like.
Sure, they look at things that will align with Western beauty standards, but not for nothing. But even in like America, at least they're in England or whatever the fuck. Like darker skin tones are starting to become considered more attractive. That's why you see Ariana Grande doing blackface on the front of magazines.
I'm darker skinned, like I'm not gonna benefit the same way you do.
Really, I don't care about that stuff. Like, it's
but a lot of people do. We're conditioned to like believe these things.
Which people?
She has like what you would consider like Western features. Her darker skin probably makes her seem more attractive because like pale people aren't seen as attractive as like people that are a little darker. I'm not talking about like really black, but like light skinned people. Not like, well, like she's, or like olive skinned, they'll say. She's definitely considered attractive to like everybody. What are you talking about? Except for when you open your fucking mouth.
Everyone, society, like racism has happened for so many years, colorism has happened for so many years. It's not going to go away overnight.
Do you feel like everyone here is? You get more privilege? Like,
do you feel like black people are looking at this girl and going, "Oh, what are you, bro? Like, I got beat up by the police, and this woman's talking about how she's disadvantaged." You know what I mean? Like, bro, shut the fuck up. She's trying to identify, bro. She's like trying her best to like be like, I'm kind of black. I'm kind of black. I know this the suffering. I'm kind of black, bro. It's not about just being fucking black, bro. Like you are a fucking white girl with like olive skin. You are what all white girls want to look like when they go to the beach, and you're talking about how you're fucking oppressed, and that's just fucking mind-boggling to me.
I get more privilege than the way they look at us.
Look at us how? Like, how are they looking?
Because you were saying that everyone looks at you differently based on.
Bro, the girl on the left would be considered, and like I'm not saying Pearl's ugly. What I'm saying is that like, the girl on the left would be considered more attractive. She's shorter, which is usually seen as more attractive. She has a darker skin tone that's not pale, but not like black. She has pretty Western features when it comes to like her face and her nose, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What is she talking about? This woman is like the fucking obnoxious.
Like skin color.
A lot of people do. Yeah, a lot of people will look at me and you differently. Like we don't get the same privilege.
And I'm saying, how do you know it's not just you? Like your personality? Maybe they just don't like you.
Maybe.
It's definitely not just that. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
I mean, maybe. But I don't
think. Yeah. So, but going back to it, like.
You don't think she seems white? She looks fucking white as hell to me. I don't know what I tell you.
The point is, like, women get away with stuff like all the time in society, and no one cares.
Men get away with a lot of stuff too. Like,
not necessarily. Men go to jail all the time for crimes they didn't commit.
Sure. Well, jail is. Well, I mean, if you didn't go. Well, what for crimes they didn't commit? Okay. That's just not true. I don't know what you're talking. I'm sure there are people who go to jail for crimes they don't commit, but it's not happening all the time. What are you talking about?
A girl could say that someone raped him and get him kicked out of school.
No, actually, I just disagree. On the internet, you can say that and you'll lose your job, but that doesn't happen in the real world. These things are so incredibly, like, in order to get convicted for sexual assault, you have to have, like, every bit of evidence. It's very rarely happening that people are even punished for sexually assaulting somebody. What is she talking about? This doesn't happen. What do you mean? Give me an example. This isn't happening. On the internet, sure. But in school, absolutely not. Especially a lot of bigger schools will have their own police force. And if you try to go to the regular police, they'll just redirect them back to that police force. And then they won't really do shit about it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Like in the U.S., there is a case, and I'm just giving you an example.
Sure,
and it doesn't mean it's the only
case.
example. I'm just giving you one of many, right? So there is a case where a woman said that a dude assaulted her. Yeah. And there's video evidence of her bringing him back to the door and pulling him, like
what is it called?
So clearly hitting on him. He gets kicked out of school. That stuff doesn't happen to women.
What can you give me any more information than they went back to her room? First of all, I need a name. Second of all, just because a girl takes a guy back to his room doesn't mean that she didn't sexually assault her. Like, you can stop consent at any point, and he could. I don't know if he did, but he could have violently raped her afterwards still, and she wanted to stop. This doesn't prove anything. Showing interest in somebody doesn't prove that you didn't get raped. Like, if you show interest in somebody and then you go to sleep with them and they're like, "Wow, I don't like this. I want to stop," and they don't stop, that's rape. What are you talking about? What's the case?
A woman said that a dude said it's the only example. I'm just giving you one. Like in the U.S., there is a case, and I'm just giving you an example, and it doesn't mean it's the only example. I'm just giving you one of many.
Look this
right?
up.
So there is a case where a woman said that a dude assaulted her. Yeah. And there's video evidence of her bringing him back to the door and pulling him, like so clearly hitting on him. He gets kicked out of school. That stuff doesn't happen to women.
How do I even look this up? Does somebody know the name of this? I want to fact check it. Whether she's right or wrong. I don't know what to look up. I feel this is so much vagueness. Here's all she said. Hey, a guy was interested in a girl, and a girl was interested in the guy back mutually. They went back to her place, and then afterwards she claimed sexual assault. Now, she might be lying, or maybe he actually raped her. But I just need a name. I mean, if he got kicked out of school, he probably did something, but I really just needed a name so I could look at it, and I've got nothing.
It only happens to men. And men really
What?
aren't taken seriously when they're victims of a crime.
That I can agree with. Like
Maybe?
men can't speak up as much because of, you know, this whole concept about men have to be masculine, they have to be brave.
Toxic
So
masculinity.
like to an extent I like agree that men don't come out or aren't, you know, confident enough to speak out about the issues they face, but I wouldn't say that women get away with more.
Even if they get 3 times the same
I wouldn't either.
sentencing for the same, men get 3 times.
It's not 3 times. It's like 60% increase. But okay. I don't think that that's everything. It certainly shows a disparity.
Times the same sentencing for the same crime.
And I don't know if that same crime is necessarily a repeat offense or not. There's a lot of variables that I don't know if have been controlled for. Sure, you could say it's a disparity for sure, but that doesn't mean that, like, using this one isolated incidence where men, or we'll say women, are under fucking sentenced or whatever, that doesn't show everything. Like, there's a lot to the world. I mean, okay.
I don't know much about it. Like I would have to like read more.
So if that was true, would that change your opinion a little bit?
Maybe a little bit.
I wouldn't for mine. I mean, I think that there's different forms of oppression that men and women can identify with, and we just need to deal with them correctly. And we don't have to sit here and go on the street and try to focus on shitting on women. Like, this is the problem with Pearl, is she doesn't care about men. Like, Pearl uses the concept of like male advocacy to shit on female advocacy. It's a dunk. She thinks it's based. It makes her money. She doesn't care. If she really cared, she'd actually talk about. And the only time Pearl ever talks about male issues is to speak down about female issues. Every time she does, like, this is her advocacy is like, yeah, yo, you're not oppressed as a woman because men are oppressed in this way. That's not how this works. That's called oppression Olympics. Childish.
It makes you think a little bit, you know?
Yeah, it definitely makes you think a little bit.
And even with abortion, like, women are incentivized to trap men. So, like, the NBA issues statements say, stop, flush your condoms.
You just talked about how Willow Smith is like a top 1%er, and now you're going to use top 1% examples. That's not how it works. It's not designed to incentivize women to fucking take advantage of men. Some women will do that for sure, but it's not designed that way. And you're using fucking the top 1% earners as some kind of like, see, I got you.
Right.
Okay.
So because no, they can't. No, they can't. Yeah. They can. But like, what happened to Drake? Why is he putting hot sauce in it?
Put hot sauce in your condoms, guys.
And you get.
We'll use condoms with spermicide. If you have a lot of money, be careful. Stop sleeping around. Start trying to find people. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know. You posted a bottle of hot sauce, right?
Just wear condoms, I guess.
I'm saying it was true that many women were stealing them. Because why would the NBA issue statements every year saying flush?
Well, because in the NBA, people who are top 1% plus earners, there are going to be fucking gold digging women going after them. That doesn't speak poorly for all women, though.
Like, that's the #1 way NBA players go broke.
Well, then I think then men should
Probably
choose
not,
to wear a
but
condom if they don't want to get a woman pregnant.
No, but they can, and then the girl can still steal the condom. That's legal.
Okay, get it. I guess you just know what a spermicidal lube is, but okay.
So again, women like get away with shit. Okay.
Which women? Like, how many of them are happening? Can you give me a few examples? Because we got like some NBA players. I mean, bro, this isn't indicative of the rest of society.
I've talked to people all the time on the street, right? Every day. I've met so many men to come up to me and tell me stories of how a girl traps them.
Okay. And then women say stories as well, and you just dismiss the woman's story. So.
That's wild.
And the thing is,
like who? What's their name?
I don't know who these. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's all girls, but I'm saying
trap them in what capacity? Like, bro, guys and girls are both going to interact with shitty men and women. Like, you're going to have shitty experiences, and then people will allow that to create a prejudice. I've dealt with tons of shitty women in my life, but I don't treat women like shit because of it. That's what it is. And these men are hurt because women hurt them, just like these women are hurt because men hurt them. And then everybody's just going back and forth hating each other because they've had bad experiences with somebody else in the opposite fucking sex. And you know what? They probably created bad experiences for other people, and that's called maturing. And when you get to that point, you finally realize, like, oh, you know, we're not so different after all.
legally, like, girls are paid out for bad decisions. If you're a single mom, you get money. Right. If you, like, every time.
How is that a bad decision of the mother to become a single mom? Why are you assuming that all single women are. Why? What? Wait, that's a bad decision for both of them. What do you? Oh my God, you're so dumb.
We make a decision. There's a fail-safe. So for example, like if I get pregnant, I can get an abortion. If a man gets a girl pregnant, he has no way out.
Sure, you're right, because women have a biological advantage of carrying the baby, so they get to have that choice. But what are you talking about? like single parents in general are a failure of like both parents in some capacity, or one parent, depending on who the single parent is. I'd say that they're probably less of a failure. They still have to raise that kid alone. It's not easy. You think that they have single parents, they get a payout. No, they don't. You fucking idiot. They get money. They get child support. It's a payout. You realize that the guy stayed with the girl, he'd be paying significantly more money, or the girl stayed with the guy, depending on who the primary parent is. What do you mean it's a payout? You still have to deal with the tremendous amount of stress of raising a child. Yeah, well, they got like $1,000 a month. That maybe covers diapers. Oh, wow. You know how much clothing kids go through? You know how much food kids go through? You know how much diapers kids go through? You know how much shit kids go through? Healthcare? What the fuck are you talking about? How are you getting out? Oh, yeah, you're really cashing out. Cashing out for what? Like, if the average man makes $50,000 a year, what they've talked about, I think child support's like maybe 17%. So we're talking about, let's say, $7,000. Is that accurate, 17%? Maybe more than that. Like $8,500 a year. Sure, that's a lot of money. It's more expensive to raise a kid and actually be there for your kid in their life than anything else. What are you talking about? What do you mean? Let me see. PRC. What is child support? How much is child? I think it's 17%. I think. The court adds up the income together. Second court multiplies the combined income by a percentage of 17% for one child, 25% for two children. All right. So they add both income of the parents together, and then they multiply the combined income. So they don't take 17%. For one child, you take 17% of the parents' combined income. For two children, you take 25%. Okay. What does that mean? Do they... The average amount. Okay, so let's just say this. We're gonna use the average amount because that's a little confusing to me. The average amount in California is $430 a month for one child. What a payout! Let's see. How much do children cost to raise per year? Okay, let's look that up now. Oh, $17,000 a year. I understand it varies by state, but I'd say California probably has some solid, robust shit. So we have a cost of $17,000 a year is the average cost per year of raising a child. And we'll say the average cost in California, which is a high-income state, is $430 a month for child support. So that means that guy, or the person paying child support, is $5,160. Less than a third of the cost to raise the kid is coming from child support. So how are you fucking cashing out if they have to pay 2/3 of the cost of the child and raise the child? Oh, you're really cashing out on that one. What are you fucking? You're unstable. You're unhinged. You're unstable. You don't know what you're saying. You're just speaking words. Wow, incredible.
He can't sign off his rights and say I don't want to pay child support for 18 years. Where women, we can say I don't want to be a mother. I can get an abortion. I can give the kid up for adoption. It's like all in our hands.
Yeah.
Sure, I guess.
Because we're the ones carrying.
But then she wouldn't get child support anymore, right?
Carrying the child.
But what's harder, carrying a kid or raising it? Like dogs carry kids. I think.
What's harder, carrying a kid? What are you, an idiot?
All in our hands.
Yeah, because we're the ones carrying the child.
But what's harder, carrying a kid or raising it? Like dogs carry kids. I think we give ourselves a little too much credit.
Carrying it.
What? What are you talking? Carrying it takes a tremendous amount of energy, and then raising a kid does too. And if men are leaving the household and just paying child support, the woman is raising the kids by themselves, which means they're carrying and raising it. Dude, how do you how dude, how does she exist as a person?
And raising, and women do both of that.
No, men do too. Men do too.
Not to the same extent.
Yeah, not to the same extent. Like they're disproportionately more women.
That's another thing. The reason it's not equal is because men don't win in court. Women.
No, it's not true.
Get custody 80% of the time. So it's like, but feminists don't care about this.
Bro, we've talked about it so many times. Just because there's a disparity doesn't mean that it's a problem with it. Yes, women are more advantaged in court when it comes to child support or when it comes to custody. Women also want to raise their kids more than men do. It's just a fact, right? I'm not saying that every man is bad, but like when you carry a child in your womb for 9 months and you birth it, it is more human to you than a man up until the baby's birthed. Those first like year that's the bonding period for men, whereas women are bonding with their kid as it's in their fucking womb. What are you talking about? It's not like all these men want 50-50 custody. Most of these men don't want it. And then there are some who do want it and they get disadvantaged for sure. But what are you talking about? What are you saying? It's not like these men want custody of their children. They don't.
There's men that spend like $20,000 trying to go to court and they go broke. They lose their life savings trying to get their kids and there's nothing they can do.
Some, not most, the majority don't. And you talked about edge cases before and how we shouldn't use edge cases as a main thing. Okay, sure.
Those instances, like, see, that's a bit more complex to talk about because I don't know, like.
No, it's okay. I don't expect people. It's not the common narrative.
No, but it's but it's also like, you know, that depends from situation to situation. Like whatever that man's background is versus the woman, like whatever their history was, like whatever their relationship was, if there was like infidelity involved, like all these things play factors. So it's like it really depends from situation to situation.
But do you think
men should have the same chance?
Zed King super chatted $2.
Oh, thank you, brother. I was waiting for the newest alert that you said. What is a psyop?
Zed King super chatted $5. I'm convinced at this point Pearl is a
psyop. Oh, like some kind of undercover fucking agent? Maybe. She's an undercover Russian agent trying to destroy the Western world.
You know, being a father and like being like men should have the same. So it's like it really depends from situation to situation.
But do you think
men should have the same chance of, you know, being a father and like being able to raise their kids and having custody over their children?
Would you support a financial abortion so men can say, like, let's say I get pregnant tomorrow, right? And the dude that knocked me up says, I don't want anything to do with that kid. I don't want to pay child support. Can sign off my rights. It's the same way I get to not be a mother. Would you support that?
If a man said.
Yeah, he could sign off his rights and not pay.
So here's the thing. I've been talking to my wife about this. She actually kind of agrees with what Pearl's saying. So the only way I would be okay with a man sleeping with a woman, getting her pregnant, you know, she has the opportunity to get an abortion. He would be able to get a financial abortion, sign away his rights and not have to pay. The only way I'd be okay with that is if we had government intervention that would pay the difference at an even greater rate. Because the reality is once you have a child into the equation that is birthed, that child needs to have a good outcome. It's already going to have a bad outcome by having only one parent. And now if we just made a financial abortion, I guess what you'd say, then that kid's not going to be able to have as many resources as they should have to move forward. I would be okay with it if for that. But we need to have a conversation about that because like a lot of times when we talk about this abortion conversation, we don't talk about the kid once it's born. Like it's like, oh, well, a guy should be able to, or a girl should be able to. Oh, well, what about the fucking kid at this point? You have a birthed baby. That kid needs love and attention, and it needs two parents, and we're already denying them one of those. So, you know, we talk so much. What I find interesting is we're so focused on people making profoundly bad decisions that we're not focusing enough on trying to stop the decision before it happens. So what you should do is you should try to advocate for more people being more safe when responsible when it comes to sex, and then also not having kids out of wedlock. Because at the end of the day, the manosphere, a sphere that Pearl advocates for men cheating, she's okay with men sleeping around and fucking around. But that has a negative impact of having potentially more children being born without a father. So you exist in a sphere that advocates for bad parents, bad fathers, bad mothers, and then you want to talk about this and it comes off as a virtue signal. Instead of focusing as much energy and attention as you can, advocating for men to sleep around as much as possible and cheat on their girlfriends because they're older than 20, why don't you focus more on trying to encourage men to be strong fathers and stay in the home and make better decisions? Because if we ban women from getting abortions, it's just going to increase the amount of babies that we have born that aren't going to have parents, right? So I just feels like you don't really fucking care and you're just pretending to care.
Child support. Like the same way if I want to get an abortion, the men have no say. It's my body, my choice. So would you say it should be equal?
No, because they're not the ones carrying the child. Like they're not, yeah.
But this is like further proves my point. Like we want we want freedom without the responsibility.
It's not without, dude, if they birth the baby, they have to take care of it. It's not a lack of responsibility. You have to raise a fucking kid. You're acting like, yeah, there's no responsibility. How? I don't know what you're talking about. When it comes to men being physically stronger, they get advantages in society, right? They get to do the harder jobs because they can physically handle it. When it comes to women, their physical advantage is having a baby, so they get the end all say on this. Who gives a fuck, dude? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what it comes down to. Just because there is a disparity doesn't mean that there's an abuse attached to it.
So we want to be paid out for bad decisions.
I don't think that's the case. I think it's just, I think you can't compare like what a man goes through to what a woman goes through. Genetically, we are different. Like we do, like our anatomy's different, like genetically we're different, we're just made differently. So it's like we're never going to be equal in a sense, but I don't think like I don't know.
We should be equal under the law.
Sure.
Like, you know, I understand like men and women are different, but under the law, shouldn't we be equal?
I think so. Yeah, we're all humans. Like under.
Sure.
But yeah. Then again, when it comes to stuff like abortion and like having kids, it's just a little bit more tricky, I'd say.
But you don't. So you don't. If you want it to be equal under the law, you still would stand on no financial abortion.
I don't know.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't be for it, but I could understand as long as we have a robust system.
Like if I get like knocked out by a guy and he's like, I don't want to pay, like I don't want to, I don't want anything to do with this child. I don't know if I'd want to have that child if like my baby daddy's not ready to like support us and like, you know what I mean, like carry that.
Yeah, but you get the choice. You know, that's the point. Yeah. But like feminists want the freedom without the responsibility.
I do understand.
Bro, it's not the entire feminist movement. You're talking about freedom without responsibility. Oh, if she doesn't get an abortion, the man also doesn't have to take care of the kid. We don't have to pay child support. So here's the thing, where she's saying that they want the freedom of choice and no responsibility. If she has the abortion, both of them don't have to pay. If she has the kid, the guy only has to pay some money, never see his kid again in his entire life, while she pays more money for the kid and actually has to raise it. So what are you talking about? How is this some kind of a fucking payout for women? It's ridiculous.
I understand what you're saying. Like it does make me think.
Oh
for sure.
my god.
Even like if we're bad with money, there's women's shelters. There's not men's shelters. You know.
Sure, we could talk about having better women. Women's shelters aren't like an end-all be-all, just so you know. We have homeless shelters, first of all, Pearl. I mean, men are disproportionately more homeless. I just understand that. And that's a great conversation to have about reducing homelessness because that would help men. But like for sure. I mean, I agree with that. It's just preposterous. Like these women's shelters aren't like giving out tons of money. Like, do you understand? It's not like the fucking it's not a vacation to have a kid, a single parent vacation. It's fucking crazy.
You know, men are just homeless.
Right.
A lot of men are homeless,
like
sure.
I think like women don't really know how privileged we are in general.
It doesn't make you privileged. I'm not homeless either, but it's a conversation to have, and you only bring it up when it's to dunk on women's issues. I mean, this is fucking pathetic.
Yeah. Much to think about.
Yeah. No, I like honestly, you've been a good sport. A lot of people come in very aggressive, and so I really appreciate you coming in and like.
I appreciate this conversation. It definitely made me think.
But it's mind-numbing listening to Pearl.
I'm still pro women.
It's okay. You can
I support women's rights, but most importantly, I support women's wrongs. So that's.
Bro, there's no greater example as to why women shouldn't have rights than fucking Pearl talking. Holy shit.
That's how I'm gonna end.
Oh my god.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Your question is feminism is a female
agree or disagree?
supremacy movement. 100% agree. The reason being, if you look at the history of supremacy movements in the past, they're usually created by a supposition that there is a conspiracy from a certain group of people who are trying to oppress or harm others. The Nazis did it with the Jews, the KKK did it with the black people in the South, and the feminists do it to men via the conspiracy of the patriarchy.
No, we can observe that there is like a more male-dominated society, and feminism has worked to change that. We could argue at this point that there doesn't need to be feminism anymore. That's fine if that's the state. But what he's saying is that women have always controlled men in some capacity. I don't know what his fucking argument is. He's gone like full fucking conspiracy mode. This is literally just Alex Jones.
That they claim is oppressing them. But what they're actually doing is that they're taking away the natural rights of certain men. So you have a lot of men nowadays suffering from the divorce courts.
Why is divorce a natural right?
From the fact they can't display their masculinity.
That's an issue with the historical way that our society has operated when it comes to men. You could say that women contributed to the patriarchy. Sure, I think that's fine. Women uphold those standards too and shame men for being weak, but that's not something that women created, and it's like a system.
Or that they'll be called a misogynist if they disagree with their girlfriend going outside to the nightclub alone. You can
Nobody would call you that, but okay.
clearly see that there is just a general hatred of men from that group.
There are some feminists who do hate men, absolutely, and they're hurting the feminist movement, but that's not what the movement is about. That's online TikTok girls that are fucking obnoxious, that want to be hateful. It's the same as the manosphere in the opposite direction.
People. And it's not all women doing it. It is this, subset of feminists who think that men...
It's the first time it's a very small subset of feminists. It's literally not feminists. It's literally children on the internet hating men and using feminism as a fucking disguise.
Men have this conspiracy that they're out to get them, which is not true. Because if you see in the West, the men here are quite, very passive. They're the typical nice guy. They don't want to hurt women. They treat them in a very nice way compared to other countries.
For sure, and the reason is because we had feminism. The reason why we treat women better in this country is because of feminism, historically. Are you fucking insane?
Yet still they say that men are the oppressors. And really, it's not based on any
But he just said that the feminism movement from the start was a fucking conspiracy theory, so crazy.
reality. It's just some conjured up conspiracy theory.
I agree. I've had 2 girls today tell me they think they're better than men. Men are better than men.
Men and women are equal. So that is basically another sign of female supremacy.
It's interesting because men and women they should be equal for sure. But then again, you just considered every single female issue from like the past 100 years a conspiracy. Even though we understand that the reason why we've had so much progress in the West is because of feminism, whereas other countries that aren't the West are still treating their women like shit. And before, Pearl was making it a point about how the women aren't actually oppressed in Saudi Arabia, even.
We're all equal. Whether you believe in a god or whether you're secular, you're atheist, we all have equal rights, and that's how it should remain.
You know, I actually think men are unequal.
Yeah.
I don't think we're equal. I think women have more rights without the responsibility.
I disagree.
Yeah, that's true. If you look in the divorce courts, for example, men 90% of the time lose the case. They have to pay for the child that they hardly ever see.
Because they don't want to see, like, oh my God. Like, yeah, dude. Lose what case? Full custody? Primary custody? Listen, here's the reality. With all this fucking male victim bullshit, because that's all that's happening right now is male jerk-off victim bullshit. If you're a man that has a kid, you can see them. That's it. You may not, maybe you won't be able to see them every single day, but you'll be able to get custody. You'll be able to see them at least once a week, twice a week, maybe once a month, twice a month. Go and see your kid and then advocate for more opportunities to see your kid if you actually care. But the reality is a lot of men don't care. They'll complain, oh, well, there's disparities. Yeah, because women want to take care of their kids more than men. When a woman births a baby, it's more of a person to them than for the dad, because they carried it for 9 months. It's more close to them. The male bonding periods in the first couple of years. What are you talking about? This issue isn't purely that women are evil and keeping their kids from them. The issue is a lot of men don't want to be with their kids, and it's unfortunate. There are a lot of good fathers, but like a lot of them are bad, and a lot of the times they don't want to be in their kids' lives. My mother's advice as a single mother to other women who are going through the same issue that she did is to let the father see their kid. And every single time, and I know it's anecdotal, but every single time, talk about like 6 times, the dads lose interest and they don't care anymore. Because the reality is that there's a lot of shit fucking men that don't want to be fathers, and there's a lot of shit women too. But in this instance, there's a lot of men who don't want to be there for their kids, and we like to blame women. But like reality is like you're just removing the responsibility of the responsible party, and we have a lot of irresponsible men, and we need to be better than that. And the reason we have more irresponsible men and women is the fatherless child meme. Do you ever notice how it's a meme? We literally have a fatherless child meme where you look at a girl doing OnlyFans, another fatherless child. You look at a simp, another fatherless child. We have no motherless child meme. It's because it's so ingrained in us to understand that like men don't want to be there for their kids and they don't want to be a positive, strong force in their kids' lives, that it's a fucking meme. And then we like to pretend like all these men, the only reason they're not seeing their kids is because evil women in the divorce court. No, that's not what's happening. Women do tend to be more advantaged in these courts, in divorce courts, or rather, excuse me, in custody courts, of course. But it's because they actually want to be with their kids more than these men do. Shut the fuck up. This is insane. It's fucking crazy.
Men in relationships have a real bad time at the moment because, you know, if they, for example, flirt with another girl, then that girl would go ballistic, you know, and that relationship would end. But if his girl does it and he has a problem with it, then he's a toxic, masculine misogynist.
What the fuck are you talking about? None of this is true. This guy's an idiot. Yeah, if men flirt in a relationship, that's terrible. But if a woman does it, it's okay. To who? To who? What data supports his claims? I would love for you to show me, because you're going to give me general data that says that women tend to get custody of their kids, but that data doesn't include the men actually wanting their kids. Okay. 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 Thank you. Anyway, what is he talking about? What is he referring to? This isn't a social thing that happens. Nobody's supposed to be cheating. What are you talking about? And you're talking to a girl who thinks men should be able to flirt and cheat and women should not.
Which clearly there's a double standard there.
No, there's not. This isn't even a standard that's ever been mentioned. This doesn't exist. You're lying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better.
I agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. No, because even though what he said was dumb, you're somehow fucking dumber. That's what it comes down to.
Myself.
Holy
you,
fuck.
You said you watch the channel?
I watch the channel. I like it because it's, I don't want to...
It makes him feel like a victim. That's why he watches your channel, Pearl. You are literally just putting victim complexes into men. That's it. You are teaching men to be weak fucking losers that don't take accountability for their actions. I fucking hate people like that. Okay? Everybody in your life can identify with a form of oppression if you look at it. Maybe you come from a single family household. Maybe you come from, you don't have a whole lot of money. Maybe you're fucking black. Maybe you're a woman. Maybe you're a drug addict. Maybe your fucking parents were drug addicts. Maybe you're whatever. Maybe you're white. I don't know. Who cares? But at the end of the day, there's a difference between being oppressed and having an oppressed mentality. And at the end of the day, if you decide to have an oppressed fucking mentality, you're going to turn out to be a fucking loser that nobody wants to be around. Okay? So, if you got some oppression going on, it's good to advocate for yourself. It's good for advocate to change the system, but stop acting like a fucking idiot because it's pathetic. It's embarrassing. It's weak when men do it. It's weak when women do it. It's fucking pathetic. Okay? Every single woman in my life is a strong woman. And while they understand that there could be ways that women are disadvantaged, they get annoyed when women start jerking themselves off going, oh my God, I'm so oppressed, because it's exhausting and it's fucking embarrassing and it's pathetic. And it's the same fucking thing when a man does it. I hate this crybaby fucking mentality. Oh, we have all these issues, but you never advocate for them. You don't give a fuck unless we're talking about feminism. There's an issue in the custody courts. Okay, what have you done about it? Nothing. Wow, so you only bring up these fucking disparities when women advocate for their shit, but you don't give a fuck. It's almost like you don't fucking care about men and you pretend to fucking care. Oh, men are disadvantaged. Maybe. What are you doing about it? Oh, well, I'm just talking shit about women. Incredible. That makes the most sense. Nobody hates men more than people who pretend to care about men. That's like that for every fucking issue. We've been talking about, what have we been talking about lately? Liberal racism, about how there's a bunch of fucking white people who think that they know best for black people. This is the same fucking thing for men. They never give a shit about any issue for men until it's to dunk on a woman. That's all it is. That's not advocacy. That's fucking pathetic. That's some loser shit. You're fucking losers. What do you want me to tell you? It's a loser mentality. You just came and told us that society will praise a woman that cheats on her fucking spouse. And you think that I'm going to be like, yeah, you're right. Nobody says that. Nobody ever does that. I can't even think of an anecdotal experience where this happens. Society will tell men that they should let their women cheat. What the fuck are you? Are you on crack? What are you talking about? That's the dumbest fucking... If you ever hear somebody say that, they're an idiot. This guy's a fucking moron. Yeah, you know, if a guy tries to cheat on his girlfriend, they get shamed. But when a woman does it, everybody claps. Where? Where are you seeing that? Is this a porn? Are you talking about a porn? Is this the start to a fucking porn? I don't know what you mean. It's just fucking. It's driving me up a fucking wall. I'm triggered. I'm fucking triggered. Holy fuck. Jesus Christ.
I was going to mention some other channels, but I won't, because it's kind of like I'm sounding like I'm generating beef. But it's better than a lot of the other red pill channels because they focus on trashy subjects, where what you focus on is on a pure intellectual level, dissecting the I would say the issues that men and women unfortunately have today in the West in terms of intersexual dynamics, which a lot of people are either ignoring or getting it completely wrong.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Wow. That was a horror. I mean, bro, honestly... I have to take it every time. I'm not even kidding. When I listen to a Just Pearly Things video, I have to take breaks from like watching her content because it's a fucking mind numbing. This segment started fucking 3 hours ago and we just finished it because there's so many fallacies and flaws in the things that she's saying that I have to stop for like fucking 10 minutes, look into a statistic and go, this is obviously incorrect. And then I have to put it onto the fucking screen for people so that they understand what I'm saying. And I have to link it in my description of every single fucking thing that I look at, all the sources for you to individually verify. Because the reality is that when Pearl does it, She doesn't need to put any fucking actual statistics or resources. But when I do it, I have to, because every dumb fucking simp man will come in here. I'm sorry, but there are some, very few, but there are some fucking dumb fucking simps that come in and they love JustPearlyThings because she jerks off the victim complex in their fucking pathetic little brains. And they're like, well, you didn't fact check it. What fact check did she do? Every video. I have like 7 sources listed because she's constantly misinterpreting statistics intentionally and just promoting the dumbest fucking things in the entire world. And you guys will, and even with me meticulously reading articles and putting them in there, it's not enough for you, because the reality is you don't actually care about the truth. You care about feeling like a fucking victim. And if that's who you are, you're a loser. And if you don't want to be a loser anymore, stop victimizing yourself. I don't know what to tell you, bro. It's out of control. It's out of control how all these fucking men who align with the manosphere are fucking perpetual victims of, I'm victims of women. Oh, you're a crybaby, always complaining. You can advocate for men's rights without being a fucking child about it. Holy fuck. It's just, I hate the victim complex. It blows my fucking mind. And I'd say the same goddamn thing about BLM or Stop Asian Hate or fucking fat acceptance. All of the victims in these groups drive me up a fucking wall. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. You don't need to be a fucking victim. You can advocate for yourself without being a pussy. And I'm fucking tired of it. I'm tired of watching these losers talk about their issues in ways where it's like so hateful to other groups instead of building of their own group. It's so fucking woke. And it's just like, holy shit. I mean, fuck. Jesus Christ. We had one of those girls. What did she say? Willow Smith was less advantaged than a middle-class white girl. Like, what are you, stupid? Holy fuck, you people are dumb.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.